Chapter 1833. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio, Chirp. At this moment, the cries of birds and phoenixes could be heard from the spiritual sparrow stage. The phoenix phantoms on the light screen seemed to have come to life, releasing a terrifying aura that blocked the footsteps of all the disciples of the Phoenix clan, making it difficult for them to ascend the stage. Under that terrifying aura, the blood of the disciples of the Phoenix clan boiled and their souls trembled. They were unable to resist the aura and involuntarily reverted to their true forms. Chirp, chirp. In an instant, the true forms of many phoenixes occupied the void, covering the sky and the sun. There were also swanni, swan, blue luan, and other true forms that emitted various colors of light, like divine flames that covered the sky and earth, surrounding the spiritual sparrow stage in all directions. They wanted to ascend to the top, but were unable to move their wings. The first prince's injuries seemed to have almost healed. He appeared with the second prince, Feng Chu, Feng Wu, Huangling and Zixian. Their figures stepped on the air, surpassing the disciples of the Phoenix clan, releasing their supreme aura as they ascended the spiritual sparrow stage step by step. Chirp, chirp. The cries of phoenixes and birds filled the spiritual sparrow stage. The aura was so powerful that it caused the blood of all the disciples of the Phoenix clan to surge, as if it was about to burn. That is the supreme beast ability of our Phoenix clan. If you can comprehend it, you will obtain a supreme opportunity and dominate the world. That is the lost supreme beast ability of our Phoenix clan. If you can comprehend it thoroughly, you will be able to shake the world. Many gazes were fixed on the waterfall light screen around the spiritual sparrow stage. There were many phoenix phantoms fluctuating and evolving. That was the lost supreme beast ability of the Phoenix clan. Even if you can't ascend the spiritual sparrow stage, obtaining these lost supreme beast abilities would be a great opportunity. Chirp, chirp. All the disciples of the Phoenix clan flapped their wings with all their might and rushed into the light screen from the bottom. They wanted to obtain the lost supreme beast ability of the Phoenix clan. The first prince Feng Han, second prince Feng Chu, Feng Wu, Huangling, Zixian, and the others ascended the spiritual sparrow stage step by step. Their bodies were burning with divine light. They were already halfway there. Chirp, chirp. Finally, under the immense pressure, they were forced to retreat. Flapping their wings, they soared into the sky. Flapping their wings, they flapped their wings and soared into the sky, erupting with endless might as they attempted to forcefully charge into the spirit sparrow stage. Numerous disciples of the Phoenix clan were competing against each other as they surrounded the spirit sparrow stage to reach the summit. Divine flames burned, and the resplendent rays of light engulfed the heavens. It was incomparably shocking. This is a great opportunity. Du Xiaoqing's eyes shone with a green light. Her beautiful figure also dashed out, her hair fluttering in the wind. She wanted to ascend the spirit sparrow terrace. At this moment, just the lost beast energy of the Phoenix clan alone was enough to give her a great opportunity. Little Tiger and Du Xiaoyao moved as well. Gee, roar. After that, Du Xiaoqing and the Little Tiger were the first to transform into their true forms. The Bai Feng divine bird's body was revealed, and the dark heavenly tiger's body was also entrenched in the void, competing with the Phoenix clan. Roar. With a thunderous roar, Du Xiaoyao's body shone with boundless golden light. She transformed into the body of a red-bone horse monkey. Her innate spirit pupils emitted golden light, and her might erupted as she charged straight towards the spirit sparrow terrace. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body also had traces of blood boiling. He possessed the profound meaning of the purple flame demonic Phoenix clan. At this moment, when the spirit sparrow terrace opened, he was also affected by an invisible force. What made Du Xiaofu even more shocked was the terrifying pressure on the spirit sparrow terrace. It was too frightening. Du Xiaofu soared into the sky. At this moment, the spirit sparrow terrace was filled with the lost supreme beast energy of the Phoenix clan. That was already a great opportunity. However, when he stepped out, Du Xiaofu felt that within the waterfall-like curtain of light surrounding the spirit sparrow terrace, there was an invisible force that prevented living beings from reaching the summit, making it difficult for them to resist. The higher you go, the greater the opportunity. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked at the towering and majestic Spirit Sparrow Terrace. For some reason, he felt small in his heart. Chirp chirp. Within the Phoenix clan, many experts and elders could no longer sit still. They also began to leap up and transform into their true forms. They wanted to compete for the Spirit Sparrow Terrace with everyone else and comprehend the benefits. The Spirit Sparrow Terrace was of great importance to the entire Phoenix clan. These elders and protectors of the Phoenix clan were determined to obtain it. Chirp. On the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, the cries of phoenixes could be heard. A 7-colored phoenix phantom changed, emitting a bright light as it rushed out, causing many disciples of the Phoenix clan to retreat. Du Xiaofu's figure rushed to the center. Under the terrifying pressure, his face had already turned pale, and it was difficult for him to step forward. It was as if he was crawling with a giant boulder on his back. Looking up at the void above, Du Xiaofu saw Feng Han, Zixian, Chu Feng, Huang Linge, Huang Wu, and the other huge true forms above. As they flapped their wings, bright flames surged, and mysterious runes erupted, causing the void to boil. Roar! Du Xiaoyao roared. At this moment, golden light burst out from his red-bone horse monkey body. He actually used the momentum of the beginning of the world to stand side by side with the first Prince Feng Han and the others as he continued to climb up. However, the more one looked up, the greater the pressure on the Spirit Sparrow Terrace. Those with lower cultivation were unable to move an inch. Boom! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Du Xiaofu activated his Thunder Martial Vein, Green Spirit Armor, and Golden Rock Wings to resist the vast and endless pressure. Du Xiaofu also needed to go all out for the Little Ant Emperor. As Du Xiaofu went all out, step by step, there seemed to be invisible steps under his feet as he began to catch up with Feng Han, Chu Feng, and the others. Those outsiders can actually climb so high. The surrounding disciples of the Phoenix clan sensed it. Their eyes trembled, and they all burst out with all their strength, flapping their wings and leaping up. Bang bang bang. However, the Spirit Sparrow Terrace was ruthless. 7-colored divine light rushed out from time to time like a bright waterfall, and many disciples of the Phoenix clan were sent flying. Huang Ling erupted. Her supreme nirvana force was activated, covering her with a kind of 7-colored light. Her powers suddenly soared, and she surpassed Feng Han and the others. Zixian also used all her strength. Her supreme nirvana force was activated, and her divine ring was boiling. Purple flames surged and whistled in the sky. She was not much weaker than Huang Ling. Look, the Purple Dragon Emperor is rushing up, as if there is no one around. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, and everyone's eyes began to tremble. At this moment, little Xingxing's body was wrapped in bright light. There were golden flames burning, and 7-colored light burst out from his eyes. The third eye between his eyebrows was erect, and runes were flickering. At this moment, little Xingxing was like a small god, climbing up the Spirit Sparrow Terrace step by step. The void under his feet rippled as he climbed up. Countless bright runes and 7-colored divine flames rushed towards little Xingxing, but when they reached little Xingxing, they automatically stopped. Go! Little Xingxing opened his mouth, and with a wave of his small hand, a bright energy divine ring was formed, blocking and isolating the surrounding light. Hum, hum, hum. At the same time, little Xingxing walked in the air step by step. The invisible steps under his feet rippled, and the sound of wind and thunder resounded, shattering the void. Step by step, under countless trembling gazes, little Xingxing surpassed little Tiger Du Xiaoqing, and finally young Feng Han, Du Xiaofu, and even Huang Ling and Zixian, rumble. As little Xingxing reached the top, the entire Spirit Sparrow Terrace rumbled and trembled, and the void was also shaking. Looking at the small figure in the distance, everyone was shocked and dazed. Then, under everyone's trembling eyes, little Xingxing's small figure took the last step and completely climbed up the Spirit Sparrow Terrace. Rumble. When little Xingxing took the last step, the mysterious runes on the Spirit Sparrow Terrace became even more brilliant, and a heavenly sound of the great Tao was emitted, suppressing the ancient land of the Phoenix clan. The entire Spirit Sparrow Terrace trembled, and the surrounding void was shaking. The cries of birds seemed to have come from ancient times. In an instant, the space-time above the Spirit Sparrow Terrace fluctuated, and a bright seven-colored phoenix shadow appeared, and the seven-colored divine light flooded the sky. Such a phoenix shadow was too shocking, as if it had crossed the space-time and caused the space to riot, and it was able to crush the space-time. This phoenix shadow was obviously different from the current Phoenix Clan, and it was definitely not something the current Phoenix Clan could compare to. It was like the phoenix of all phoenixes. Heavens, it's the vermilion bird! The entire Phoenix Clan was in an uproar. That phoenix shadow was the vermilion bird, and it was not a phoenix. The terrifying pressure made their blood boil, and their souls tremble. It's rumored that the vermilion bird's inheritance is on the Spirit Sparrow Terrace. It's true, the vermilion bird's inheritance has appeared. In the surrounding void, the elders and protectors of the Phoenix Clan, Patriarch Huang Mengjun, and the others were also trembling. They knew what the vermilion bird's inheritance represented. Roar! The dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens. When the vermilion bird shadow appeared, little Xingxing's body glowed, and in the next moment, little Xingxing turned into a huge dragon on the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, and it hovered in the sky. This dragon was now completely golden in color, and its wings, which were hundreds of feet long, were like the wings of a phoenix. They were covered in blazing flames, and the surface of its body was flowing with starlight. There was also the aura of a golden-winged rock and a terrifying supreme aura that swept through the sky, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. On the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, the huge vermilion bird shadow turned into a bright 7-colored divine light after little Xingxing turned into its original form. It was like a 7-colored light pillar that traversed the space-time and finally landed in little Xingxing's third vertical eye. Chi-chi! Chi-chi! Suddenly, the eyes of the little starry crimson gold unique dragon were filled with golden flames, as if they contained 2 vast golden seas of fire. A terrifying, strange, and complicated pressure descended from its body onto the world. A bird's cry resounded, and the sound waves rolled out from little Xingxing's mouth. At the same time, a vermilion bird shadow that covered the sky appeared behind the huge vermilion bird, and it detonated the spacetime. At this moment, little Xingxing hovered in the void, and its power rushed to the heavens. Under this terrifying pressure, the eyes of the Phoenix Clan trembled, and it was difficult for them to resist. GG! The Phoenix's cries were endless. On this ancient land, all the disciples of the Phoenix Clan could not resist the pressure that came from their souls and bloodline. They cried out incessantly and flapped their wings to prostrate. GG! In the end, even First Prince Feng Han, Second Prince Feng Chu, Feng Wu, Feng Ling, and the others were unable to resist the pressure and had no choice but to submit. The dragon was in the sky, surrounded by phoenixes, and it was peerless in the sky. Swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, there were many huge phoenix shadows in the surrounding void, and they suddenly appeared from the clouds in the void. There were huge eyes that were like the sun, and the ancient and powerful aura fluctuated. You have ascended the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, obtained the inheritance of the vermilion bird, and become the spirit lord of our clan. There was such an old voice that descended from the heavens, and it reverberated throughout the Phoenix Clan. Greetings, Spirit Lord. In the next moment, countless phoenixes prostrated. At this moment, 100 phoenixes worshipped the dragon, and the phoenix of 10,000 phoenixes. Chapter 1834. The opening of the Spiritual Sparrow Terrace ended. In the end, the light from the Spiritual Sparrow Terrace surged into the sky, engulfing Little Star and the pure gold dragon before disappearing into the void above the Spiritual Sparrow Terrace. The shocking commotion in the surroundings gradually calmed down. On the mountain-like Spiritual Sparrow Terrace, the mysterious runes began to dim, and everything gradually returned to normal. The shocking pressure in the surroundings also gradually dissipated into the void, but in the end, there was endless light pouring down. Many illusory figures of phoenixes appeared, turning into divine light that fell on the disciples of the Phoenix Clan. That was an opportunity. On the spot, some disciples of the Phoenix Clan landed on the Spiritual Sparrow Terrace and began to comprehend, sinking into silence. This kind of opportunity also fell on Du Shaoqing and Little Tiger. Du Xiaofu was no exception and benefited as well. However, this kind of opportunity had nothing to do with Du Xiaoyao. Du Xiaofu closed his eyes slightly and sat cross-legged on a rock on the spiritual sparrow terrace. It was as if he had walked into the void. An astonishingly huge phoenix flapped its wings and covered the sky, erupting with 5-colored divine flames that burned the void and destroyed everything. This was the supreme beast ability of the Phoenix clan. Du Xiaofu was pleasantly surprised and immersed himself in comprehending. Little Star had already stepped onto the spiritual sparrow terrace. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was no longer worried about the little ant emperor. On the spiritual sparrow terrace, the purple dragon emperor stepped onto the spiritual sparrow terrace and obtained the vermilion bird's inheritance, shocking the entire Phoenix clan. All the experts of the Phoenix clan, elders, and protectors were unable to recover from their shock for a long time. Before this, they had never thought that an outsider would be able to step onto the spiritual sparrow terrace. Time passed slowly. On the spiritual sparrow terrace, many phoenixes were hibernating with their eyes closed, comprehending the opportunity that they had obtained. In the following period of time, phoenixes would wake up from time to time, spreading their wings and letting out cries. Their auras would erupt and blazing in the sky as they obtained great benefits. After a few days, Du Xiaofu woke up. He opened his eyes and purple flames surged. Du Xiaofu had cultivated the beast energy of the purple flame demonic Phoenix clan, so this was a great opportunity for him. Little Star should have gotten a great opportunity. Dumb Tiger and Little Green have not woken up yet. When Du Xiaoyao arrived at Du Xiaofu's side, he was the only one who had not received any benefits. When they had ascended the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, he had given it his all, so he had been feeling extremely depressed these days. This Spirit Sparrow Terrace might be related to Little Xingxing's mother, which is why Little Xingxing was able to reach the top of the Spirit Sparrow Terrace. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and looked back at the ancient Spiritual Sparrow Terrace, which had regained its calm but was still majestic and magnificent. It was like the supreme tomb in the divine domain, which was specially left by Little Xingxing's biological father, the dragon god, for Little Xingxing. No one could obtain the greatest opportunity, and it was left for Little Xingxing alone. Du Xiaofu reckoned that if the Phoenix clan's Spirit Sparrow Terrace was as Little Xingxing said, then it was not waiting for a fated person at all. It was clearly waiting for Little Xingxing to come, and only Little Xingxing could successfully set foot on it. Squeak, squeak. Du Xiaofu heard the little ant emperor's squeak. A few days ago, under the pressure of the Spirit Sparrow Terrace's opening, the little guy had already hidden in Du Xiaofu's hair, not daring to come out. Flaming parasol trees were continuous, and spiritual energy rose like mist. This ancient land was a land of treasures. Spiritual energy was abundant everywhere, and multicolored light filled the air. The Purple Dragon Emperor has already set foot on the Spirit Sparrow Terrace. According to what we said that day, there are a total of 3 quotas for the Nirvana Divine Pool, and one of them will be given to the Little Ant Emperor in your possession. In the ancient side hall where mysterious runes were fluctuating, the Phoenix clan's patriarch, Huang Mengjun, spoke to Du Xiaofu. Many thanks, Patriarch. Du Xiaofu bowed. From the looks of it, the Phoenix clan's patriarch was already aware of the matter regarding the Little Ant Emperor. This time, Du Xiaofu felt that it was indeed difficult for the Phoenix clan to give up one of the 3 quotas to enter the Nirvana Divine Pool. Although he had won the Phoenix clan's promise, there was no doubt that the Phoenix clan had done him a huge favor. But I don't know if the Nirvana Divine Pool will open in advance. Truth be told, the Little Ant Emperor has a heavenly disease. I'm afraid that it won't be able to hold on for long. Du Xiaofu felt a little embarrassed. He had heard from Zixian that the Nirvana Divine Pool would open once every 500 years. There were still 20 years until the next opening, but it was obvious that the Little Ant Emperor wouldn't be able to hold on for that long. The great calamity of the world is about to arrive, and a few of the clan's ancestors have already decided that the Nirvana Divine Pool will open 20 years earlier. Other than the Little Ant Emperor, Huang Linger and Feng Han will also enter the Nirvana Divine Pool. I hope that they will have a chance to successfully enter the Nirvana Divine Pool, Huang Mingjun said. How lucky, Du Xiaofu was pleasantly surprised. He never expected that the Nirvana Divine Pool would open 20 years earlier. If that was the case, the little ant emperor would be able to enter the Nirvana Divine Pool in the near future. But soon after, Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed. Huang Linger and Feng Han had entered the Nirvana Divine Pool without Zixian. With Zixian's talent, Du Xiaofu felt that she was stronger than the crown prince, Feng Han. Perhaps if the little ant emperor didn't take up a spot, Zixian would definitely be able to enter the Nirvana Divine Pool. Huang Mingjun looked at Du Xiaofu, as if she had seen through Du Xiaofu's thoughts. She asked, "Are you thinking that Zixian has the qualifications to enter the Nirvana Divine Pool, but she didn't enter the Nirvana Divine Pool this time? Are you thinking that I'm biased?" This, Du Xiaofu was taken aback. He smiled embarrassedly and was secretly shocked. Could it be that the patriarch of the Phoenix clan before him had the ability to read minds? She actually knew what he was thinking. I don't have the ability to read minds, so there's no need to be nervous. I'm just guessing based on your expression. Huang Mingjun smiled and said, "Don't you know that Zixian has already successfully undergone Nirvana rebirth? After her Nirvana rebirth, Zixian obtained many other benefits. Even the clan's sacred ancestor thinks highly of her. It can be said that even if Huang Linger and Feng Han had the chance to undergo Nirvana rebirth this time, it would be difficult for them to surpass Zixian in the future. You don't need to worry about Zixian. Zixian has already undergone Nirvana rebirth." Du Xiaofu was stunned. His gaze suddenly trembled and he instantly understood. Back then, when he was in the Du family, Zixian had also appeared when he was resurrected. That was her Nirvana rebirth. She had already succeeded in the Phoenix's Nirvana and rebirth from the ashes. However, Zixian didn't succeed in the Phoenix clan's Nirvana Divine Pool. She had succeeded in his body. This time, I have to thank the Phoenix clan. I will definitely repay this favor if I have the chance in the future. Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and bowed to Huang Mingjun. There's no need to be so polite. If you feel apologetic, there is something I need your help with. Huang Mingjun smiled as if she had already thought about it. She said to Du Xiaofu, "Rumor has it that the divine lightning cauldron can improve bloodline and vein soul. Is that true?" 100 spots. In 3 days I can improve your bloodline a little. However, the higher one's cultivation was, the slower the bloodline would be enhanced. The lower your cultivation, the greater the effect. Du Xiaofu said. 100 spots. Huang Mingjun was surprised. Huang Mingjun's eyes flashed with surprise. It seemed like the 100 slots had already exceeded her expectations. She smiled and said, "If you succeed, the Phoenix clan will owe you a favor. A spot in the Nirvana Divine Pool is too precious. I owe the Phoenix clan a favor." Du Xiaofu said, "The purple lightning profound cauldron could refine one's body with divine lightning and improve the bloodline of the beast race." This wasn't too difficult for Du Xiaofu. Compared to how important the Nirvana deity's pool was to Du Xiaofu, it was naturally much more important than the divine lightning within the purple lightning profound cauldron. However, to the Phoenix clan, being able to improve the bloodline of 100 disciples was no small matter. "How is your adoptive father, Jialo Changtian, recently?" Huang Mingjun suddenly asked Du Xiaofu. "Patriarch is familiar with my adoptive father?" Du Xiaofu was surprised, but he didn't find it strange. Given his adoptive father's identity as the patriarch of the Phoenix clan, it wasn't strange for them to know each other in the past. "We know each other, but we haven't seen each other for a long time. Next time, when you return to the golden-winged Great Pring clan, please send my regards," Huang Mingjun said. Her eyes flickered with a slight ripple that didn't leave a trace. "Father is well, I will definitely send the patriarch's greetings." Du Xiaofu nodded. In his heart, he always felt that the relationship between the patriarch of the Phoenix clan and his adoptive father wasn't as simple as just acquaintances. However, this was a matter between the elders, not to mention a matter between his adoptive father and the patriarch of the Phoenix clan. Du Xiaofu didn't ask too much. After chatting for a while, Du Xiaofu left. Along the way, Huang Mingjun repeatedly asked about little Xingxing's origin, But Du Xiaofu didn't say much. At dusk, the Phoenix clan had already gathered 100 disciples, including the second prince and third princess, Huang Ling. However, the first prince and Huang Ling were nowhere to be seen. It was no longer a secret that the divine lightning cauldron was in his possession. Du Xiaofu didn't have too many misgivings. He brought everyone into the desolate ancient space and summoned the purple lightning profound cauldron to refine their bodies and improve their bloodline. To be able to improve one's bloodline, this is a great opportunity. There are endless benefits. As time passed, some elders were filled with anticipation. 2 days later, the Nirvana Divine Pool would open, but Du Xiaofu wasn't able to enter. Huang Linger and Zi Xian came to pick up the little ant emperor. You have a heavenly disease, and you need the Phoenix clan's Nirvana Divine Pool to recover. I'm afraid that you will have to endure a great deal of pain. You must persevere, and the day you succeed will be the day we meet again. Du Xiaofu summoned the little ant emperor and held it in his palm as he spoke seriously to it. Squeak, squeak. The little ant emperor's squeak could be heard, and its green eyes rippled. It could completely understand Du Xiaofu's words. It was reluctant to part, and it was very intimate. I'll leave it to you. Du Xiaofu handed the little ant emperor and the nest to Zi Xian. He was also very reluctant to part with it. If the little ant emperor entered the Phoenix clan's Nirvana Divine Pool, it would only have a chance to be reborn and evolve into a supreme ant phoenix. However, the risk involved was much higher than the chance of success. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but worry. I will bring the little ant emperor into the Nirvana Divine Pool. Don't worry, Huang Ling said to Du Xiaofu. 2 days later, 100 figures of the Phoenix clan flew out from the purple lightning profound cauldron that Du Xiaofu had placed in the ancient desolate space. My bloodline has improved, and my physical body has become even stronger. It's as if I've been reborn, and my bones have been cleansed. This is a great opportunity. The disciples of the Phoenix clan who obtained the divine lightning profound cauldron were extremely excited. The benefits of improving their bloodline and cleansing their bones were enough to allow them to walk further on the path of cultivation in the future. Many thanks, Rock Emperor. Many of the elders of the golden-winged rock race immediately treated Du Xiaofu much better and more amiable. Night fell, and the moonlight was like a waterfall. I want to make a trip to the demon realm. That's where the demon spirits gather. I heard that the great calamity has already arrived, and even the demon spirits can't avoid it. I want to make a trip to the demon realm. Du Xiaoyao said to Du Xiaofu in an ancient courtyard. He wanted to make a trip to the demon realm. The 3 continents Kyushu was one of the realms, and one of them was the demon realm. That was where the demon spirits gathered, and it was rumored to be the most mysterious place. Countless legends had been left behind since ancient times. Third young master, I also want to make a trip to the Beast region and the Tiger clan. Little Tiger Du said to Du Xiaofu. His pitch-black eyes flickered with a golden radiance. Big brother, I also want to go to a place in the ancient Desolation continent. The imprint in my beast spirit was activated not long ago. Perhaps it has something to do with my origins. I want to investigate it, Du Xiaoqing said. Beneath her long eyelashes, her eyes glowed with azure light. Her eyes were as clear as a stream of water. Du Xiaofu wasn't worried about Du Xiaoyao going to the demon realm. Du Xiaofu wasn't worried about little Tiger Du going to the Tiger clan in the Beast region either. The Phantom Tiger King was in the Tiger clan, and he'd had many dealings with many of the Tiger clan's experts. Little Tiger Du going to the Tiger clan wouldn't be a big deal. As for Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaofu frowned slightly. Du Xiaofu was well aware of Du Xiaoqing's origins. She had come from the enormous headless demonic beast skeleton and had come out from the oval egg. Big brother, don't worry. I won't be in any danger. The imprint in my beast spirit is very important. It has something to do with my origins. Perhaps I still have relatives living in this world. I want to go find them, said Du Xiaoqing. All right, be careful on the way. Du Xiaofu nodded. With Du Xiaoqing's current cultivation, she had the power to protect herself. Unless one of the peak experts of the current world made a move. What do you plan to do next? It's said that the Nirvana Divine Pool will open for at least several months, and at most several years. Who knows when Little Star will come out? Are you going to wait in the Phoenix clan? Du Xiaoyao asked Du Xiaofu. Chapter 1835. I want to take a walk around. Du Xiaofu spoke. After stepping into the cycle of nirvanic reincarnation, it was still a long way to go before he could break through to the eternal nirvana realm. His master, revered weapon, was in the hands of the devil religion. His mother and sister were still practicing legalism, and the great calamity had already arrived. Sorry to disturb you, farewell. The next day, Du Xiaofu bid farewell to Patriarch Huang Mingjun in the Phoenix clan. The evil devils have awakened, and the great calamity is about to arrive. The heavenly devil battlefield is about to be unsealed. You need to temper yourself everywhere, but with your current cultivation level, ordinary places won't have much effect on you. Although my Phoenix clan's inheritance is ancient, it isn't suitable for you. After all, you are a human. Maybe you can go to the 9 great clans, maybe you can find some opportunities there. The 9 divine lightning cauldrons will gather, and you only have 1 divine lightning cauldron. You can also form a good relationship with them, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Huang Mingjun's eyes flickered as she listened to Du Xiaofu's plan. After pondering for a moment, she gave some suggestions to Du Xiaofu. 9 great clans. Du Xiaofu's clear eyes flickered as he bowed to Huang Mingjun and bid farewell. Elder brother, when I find my family, I will go look for you. Du Xiaoqing said, reluctantly bidding farewell to her elder brother. I will go to the demon world. There will be a day when we meet again. At that time, let's see who is stronger. Du Xiaoyao smiled as her innate spirit eyes glowed. Third young master, why don't I stay by your side? Little Tiger Du spoke, wanting to stay by third young master's side. All of you go, there will be a day when we meet again. Du Xiaofu smiled. Ever since he left the Stone City, he had experienced so much. He was no longer the same person as before. Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger Du, and Du Xiaoyao left separately. Maybe there would be a day when they meet again. Swish, swish. The 4 of them bid each other farewell and soared into the sky, disappearing into the horizon in an instant. In the Phoenix clan's territory, the flaming parasol tree on the mountain peak blotted out the sun. 2 graceful figures stood on top of the flaming parasol tree. Big sister Zixian he left. On the flaming parasol tree, Huang Wu's figure was graceful, and her red lips were alluring. She looked at Zixian with a faint smile. He has already gotten what he wanted. Zixian's expression was calm. Her purple clothes were fluttering on the ground. She looked noble and charming, moving people's hearts and souls. He helped you win against my big brother. Are you really not going to consider it? Huang Wu smiled. Her smile was so beautiful that it could topple cities. If you really don't want it, I'll take it. Even if the elders in the clan object, I'll accept it. He fought for me for the sake of the Nirvana divine pool. If you want to, I advise you not to provoke that fellow. He already has many women by his side. Don't let him harm you. As soon as Zixian finished speaking, a wisp of extraordinary splendor silently flashed through her beautiful violet eyes. After that, her graceful and beautiful figure soared into the sky, and she left behind an afterimage in space as she instantly vanished. Sigh, it's a pity that he's a human. Huang Wu sighed. On her charming face, 5-colored radiance overflowed from her eyes. In the dusky space, there was a faint loneliness. In this lifeless world, it gave people a feeling of eternal silence. Asterisk crackle. Asterisk in the vast dusky space, there were towering mountains in the distance. They were like giants crawling on the ground. The air was filled with strange and terrifying black lightning from time to time. Asterisk crackle. Asterisk suddenly, in the dusky sky, dark clouds covered the earth. In the end, a pitch-black spatial crack was revealed. Suddenly, an evil aura descended. Baleful aura whistled like a gale. It was as if all the evil aura in the world had gathered at this moment. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk the instant the spatial crack appeared in the sky, over 100 terrifying auras soared into the sky from the dusky land. Lord Demon God. Numerous respectful voices resounded in this dusky world. There was no vitality in their voices, but the demonic aura was monstrous. There were faint cries of ghosts and gods that resounded in all directions. The imprint of the heavenly devil battlefield is already very weak. It won't last much longer. I will open the heavenly devil battlefield as soon as possible so that you can obtain your main bodies and recover completely. Speed up the collection of spiritual thunder. You must prepare all the spiritual thunder as soon as possible. Back then, that person ruined our plans and helped Lu Xiaoyu and Long Xian. This time, there can be no more accidents. The voice came out from the spatial crack, and then slowly disappeared. Within the heavens and earth, the evil aura also slowly disappeared, and the heavens and earth once again returned to its ancient silence. The moon broke through the clouds, and the moon was dark. The moon was dark, and the stars were bright. Specks of starlight covered the sky, illuminating the land. On the mountain peak, the clouds were like dancing silvery muslin, drifting with the wind. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Under the moonlight, a purple-robed figure sat cross-legged on the mountain peak. Starlight rippled around him, as if it was about to pull down the stars in the sky. Streaks of starlight fell like waterfalls, connecting with the purple-robed figure. The mountain peak was like a dream, and the light was gentle and dazzling. There was also a vast aura. This continued until dawn, until the stars in the sky disappeared. At dawn, everything was silent. Occasionally, there were a few crisp chirps of birds in the forest. Huff! On the mountain peak, the purple-robed figure exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His eyes were filled with light. As he exhaled, an invisible aura swept through the void, shaking his purple robe. The purple-robed figure was Du Xiaofu. He came from the Phoenix clan and came here. The mountain peaks were clustered around, and the clouds were ethereal. The first ray of sunlight shone, and the mountains shone. They were majestic and magnificent, like a splash-ink landscape painting unfolding in front of them. Du Xiaofu of the desolate country has come to visit the Confucian school. On the mountain peak, Du Xiaofu stood up and spoke. His voice reverberated in the void, soaring into the clouds. Then, he quietly waited at the side. During this period, Du Xiaofu wanted to travel around, and the first place he chose was the Confucian school. Back in the Qinhuang mainland, the experts of the Confucian school and Kong Sansi had invited him. Some time ago, on the wedding day of Yi Piaoling and Mu Ruobai, the elders of the Confucian school had invited him again. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Du Xiaofu felt that the suggestion of the patriarch of the Phoenix clan, Huang Mengjun, was not bad. With his current cultivation, the various dangerous places in the world would not be of much use to him. Perhaps one of the 9 great families would be a good choice. Who knows, he might be able to obtain some unexpected gains. A moment later, in the void, a spatial wormhole fluctuated, and many figures flew out. Brother Xiaofu, I thought there was a mistake. I didn't expect you to really come. A laughter rang out, and a figure rushed out from the spatial wormhole. He looked to be in his late 20s, and his temperament was extremely refined under the robes of the Confucian school. However, his eyes were incomparably deep and vast. He directly rushed in front of Du Xiaofu and hugged him. I'm here to visit the Confucian school. I hope I won't disturb you. Du Xiaofu smiled. The man in front of him was none other than Kong Sansi. The Rock Emperor is here. How can we disturb you? An old voice rang out, and many figures appeared on the mountain range. Many of them were elders, and their bodies were rippling with light like the bright moon. They were all experts with powerful auras. Greetings, elders. Du Xiaofu cupped his fists. Among these people, there were many elders of the Confucian school that Du Xiaofu had met before. Rock Emperor, let's talk inside. The leading elder had a vigorous aura, and his cultivation was at the domain realm. He was the second elder of the Confucian school, and at this moment he was very friendly to Du Xiaofu. Let's go. Let's take a look around the Confucian school, Kong Sansi said with a smile. The Confucian school had been passed down from ancient times, and this was a treasured land. Du Xiaofu was not surprised. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's eyes were fixed on the endless buildings in the Confucian school. Inside the ancient mountains, white stones were like ghosts or shadows of beasts. Moss formed spots and vines covered the winding paths. Courtyards of secluded valleys could be seen all around. Roar. Roars came from the forest of beasts, and countless spirit beasts appeared and flapped their wings. Brother Xiaofu, the core of the Confucian school is up ahead, Kong Sansi said as Du Xiaofu sighed inwardly. Du Xiaofu looked in the direction of the ancient city. In front of him, there were stone pillars piercing through the clouds, and white stones were used as railings. There were stone bridges and 3 harbors. It was as if he was about to ascend to heaven. There were strict checks outside the city, and divine light shone on the soul. Outsiders could not sneak in. Du Xiaofu felt that it would be difficult for him to sneak in even if he used a divine disguise technique. A divine disguise technique could change one's appearance and conceal one's aura, but the divine light shone on the soul and was difficult to hide. Walking into the ancient city, there were lush trees and strange flowers. On both sides, there were towers with carved sills and countless spirit herbs. The air was filled with spirit qi. What a treasured land! Du Xiaofu could not help but sigh in amazement. Coming to such a place could calm his mind for no reason. If he could cultivate here for a long time, it would probably be greatly beneficial to his mental state. Chapter 1836. He's the Demon King Du Xiaofu. He swept through his peers in the divine domain and killed Dragon 3, Dragon 4, Qin Wudi, and the others. So he's the Demon King Du Xiaofu. He looks quite delicate and pretty. I thought he was big and burly with a fierce face. With the arrival of Du Xiaofu, the news had already spread throughout the ancient city. The streets were crowded with people, all of them casting curious gazes at him. What a scandal! Quickly leave! A dignified elder shouted, and the young men and women scattered. Roar! Suddenly, the roar of a beast came from the sky. A huge snow-white snow leopard came roaring over, emitting a terrifying aura. Brother Sansi! On the white snow leopard was a 15 or 16-year-old girl. Her eyebrows were like willows, and the corners of her eyes were filled with a sweet smile. She was so beautiful that water could be squeezed out. This girl's face was like jade, and she had a small and delicate nose. Her lips were as thin as cherry wings, and the smile on her delicate and flawless face was pure and flawless. She immediately rushed in front of Kong Sansi, but her gaze was always curiously looking at Du Xiaofu. After hesitating for a while, she asked, "Are you the Demon King Du Xiaofu?" "That's right. I'm the Demon King Du Xiaofu." Du Xiaofu smiled. This girl was not old, but her cultivation could not escape the prying of Du Xiaofu's mind. She was only 15 or 16 years old, but her cultivation was already close to the venerable realm. She was also a spirit talisman master. This caused Du Xiaofu to be secretly shocked in his heart. Such talent was truly rare. "Then have you really killed a descendant of the true dragon? I heard from my brothers and sisters that you've killed quite a few descendants of the true dragon. Those phoenixes and dragons are not your match." The girl immediately asked Du Xiaofu excitedly. Her eyes were shining as if she had seen her idol. "Little Qi, stop messing around." The second elder spoke in a dignified manner, but there was unconcealable affection in his eyes when he looked at the young girl. "Second elder, I'm not messing around." The young girl pouted and stuck out her tongue, but she was very respectful towards the second elder. "Brother Xiaofu, there's no need to treat her like an outsider. This is the reverend of the scholarly faction, the daughter of my third uncle. She's my cousin." Kong Sansi bitterly smiled at Du Xiaofu. He had never been able to do anything to this cousin of his. There were very few people in the Confucian school who could deal with her. "It's fine," Du Xiaofu smiled. Looking at the girl in front of him, he couldn't help but think of Du Xiaoqing and Dai Xingyu when they were young. "I'm Kong Yuqi." Kong Yuqi stood beside Kong Sansi and whispered to Du Xiaofu. "My name is Du Xiaofu," Du Xiaofu replied with a smile. "Big sister, big brother Sansi, I want to come down." Suddenly, a small figure appeared on the snow-white snow leopard. She looked around with her big eyes, lying on the snow leopard's back in the air without any fear. Du Xiaofu looked over. It was a little girl of 5 or 6 years old. She was cute, had a fair face, and her black eyes were clear and mysterious. "Little Chi, why did you bring little Ling out again?" Seeing this, Kong Sansi immediately jumped up and carried the little girl down, saying, "Little girl, I told you not to fly so high. You didn't listen again." "Big brother Sansi, big sister said to bring me to see the demon king who can kill a dragon," the little girl said. As her figure landed, she looked at Du Xiaofu curiously in Kong Sansi's arms, and said in a childish voice, "Are you the demon king? Is the dragon bigger, or is my big sister's Mount Little White bigger? Why, are you afraid of dragons?" Du Xiaofu smiled. "No," the little girl shook her head and said, "When I grow up and become a powerhouse like Big Brother Sansi, I won't be afraid of dragons. This is also my cousin, my third uncle's daughter." Kong Sansi looked at Du Xiaofu helplessly. Du Xiaofu's eyes were filled with surprise. Logically speaking, the current lord of the Confucian school shouldn't be too young. However, one of his two daughters was still acceptable, but the other was only a few years old. Du Xiaofu found that the little girl hadn't even reached the foundation establishment stage. The current lord of the Confucian school was really good at giving birth. "Big brother Sansi, second elder, let's go. My father is waiting in the main hall," Kong Yuchi said. A moment later, in the ancient main hall, Du Xiaofu saw the current lord of the Confucian school, and he was stunned. It was an old man who appeared to be in his 60s. However, his complexion was ruddy and his hair was jet black. His body was well built under his scholarly robes. However, the invisible aura on his body made it not difficult for Du Xiaofu's sharp Yuan spirit to discover that he was an extremely terrifying expert. "Father!" Kong Yuchi and her sister had already jumped into the old man's arms. The old man's face was kind, and his eyes were full of love. "Don't be too surprised. The men of the Confucian school marry later. I have a great-grandfather in my family, and his son is 3 years younger than me. When I see him, I have to call him grandfather. How can I explain this?" Kong Sansi seemed to feel Du Xiaofu's surprise, and whispered to Du Xiaofu's ears. His voice was somewhat depressed and helpless. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu felt helpless, and he also felt helpless for Kong Sansi. "Greetings, Lord." Du Xiaofu bowed to the old man. The current lord of the Confucian school was one of the most powerful powerhouses in the world. "Rock Emperor is too polite." The old man was very polite, and there was a smile on his face. This old man was Kong Zhuohao, the current lord of the Confucian school. The arrival of the demon king Du Xiaofu had immediately alarmed him, and it was enough for him to personally come out. The demon king, who had swept through his peers in the divine domain and eradicated legalism and all the forces that had converted to the school of martial arts, had many mysterious powerhouses behind him, and even had the divine thunder cauldron. This was enough to make the entire Confucian school pay attention to him. After some greetings, the Confucian school welcomed Du Xiaofu's arrival with a feast. With the current lord personally accompanying him, as well as the second elder and other elders, Du Xiaofu's face was not small. "Rock Emperor, you are a young hero. You can be said to have shaken the ancients and dazzled the contemporaries." After a few rounds of pleasantries, Kong Zhuohao looked at Du Xiaofu with a smile in his eyes. "I guess that the Rock Emperor must have come to my Confucian school for an important matter. To tell you the truth, this little one has been looking forward to joining the Confucian school for a long time. This time, I came hoping to stay with the Confucian school for a few days and properly comprehend the Confucian school. I hope that the Lord will grant my wish." Du Xiaofu directly stated his purpose for coming, not beating around the bush. For the experts and elders of the Confucian school present, being direct was better. Hearing this, everyone paled. How could they not understand the meaning behind Du Xiaofu's words? He had been looking forward to joining the Confucian school for a long time and wanted to get a share of the Confucian school's inheritance. I was wondering what it was about. This is a small matter. Tomorrow, I'll send someone to take the Rock Emperor around the Confucian school." Kong Zhuohao smiled. A slight ripple flashed across his face without leaving a trace before quietly vanishing. "Thank you, High Lord." Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and smiled, a slight ripple in his clear eyes. "Dad, let me accompany the Demon King Du Xiaofu around the Confucian school." Kong Yuqi raised her hand in excitement. Chi, don't mess around. The Rock Emperor is an honored guest. What Demon King? Don't talk nonsense. Kong Zhuhao rolled his eyes at his beloved daughter. I've always been called the Demon King, and Miss Yuqi is not wrong. Du Xiaofu smiled. If the Lord doesn't mind, it would be my honor to have Miss Yuqi lead the way. Dad, let me lead the way, Kong Yuqi excitedly said. My daughter is naughty and mischievous, so I ask the Rock Emperor to forgive her. Kong Zhuhao's eyes turned as he spoke to Du Xiaofu. Dad, I also want to go with elder sister, the little girl said. Seeing that her elder sister could go play, she did not want to miss it. After a welcoming dinner, Kong Sansi personally accompanied Du Xiaofu to many places in the Confucian school. Along the way, many disciples looked at them curiously and discussed. After Du Xiaofu left, only the elders, protectors, and Lord Kong Zhuhao remained in the hall. Lord, it seems that this Demon King Du Xiaofu came to comprehend the inheritance of our Confucian school, an elder said. An elder spoke. His eyes shone as he said, This brat once took good care of Sansi and the others in the space of the divine domain. At this moment, he even has a divine thunder cauldron on him. It's a pity that the inheritance of our Confucian school cannot be passed to outsiders. This Du Xiaofu is indeed extraordinary. At such a young age, his cultivation is not below ours. Rumor has it that the legalisms Li Chunfa and Qin Tianshi both fell at his hands. His future is limitless. However, our Confucian school's inheritance cannot be passed to outsiders, a middle-aged elder in gray said. If he asks for something else, our Confucian school can give him some face. However, our Confucian school's inheritance cannot be passed to outsiders. An old woman in plain clothes said. Sitting behind the second elder, it was clear that her position in the Confucian school was not low. The elders and protectors discussed amongst themselves. Kong Zhuhao, on the other hand, was listening to what the elders and protectors were saying. He smiled and said, From what I can see, this boy is indeed extraordinary. Among his peers, no one can compare to him. Once he has the opportunity to control the 9 divine lightning cauldrons, he will be able to command the 9 clans. Kong Zhuhao paused for a moment and narrowed his eyes. From ancient times until now, no one in this world has been able to ascend. All of this is related to the supreme expert who sealed the evil spirit and the dragon god. The divine thunder cauldron is the key. If this Du Xiaofu has the divine thunder cauldron, perhaps he really has the chance to gather the 9 divine thunder cauldrons. Chapter 1837. My lord, you mean? The second elder opened his mouth and looked at Kong Zhuhao. The school of Yin Yang, the school of Moism, and the school of agriculture are on good terms with him. The school of Yin Yang and the school of Moism have even invested heavily. Mo Jianzi and Qi Mingxian have even brought out their nieces and daughters. However, they don't seem to be married yet, so we still have a chance. A slight smile appeared on Kong Zhuhao's ruddy face. My lord, but Qi is still young. Could it be? Hearing this, an elder immediately spoke up. What nonsense are you spouting? What are you thinking? Kong Zhuhao immediately glared at that elder and said unhappily, Are the girls in my school of Confucianism inferior to the girls from the school of Moism and the school of Yin Yang? Tomorrow, let Yu Tong and Kuei go with Yuqi. Looking at the elders present, Kong Zhuhao did not conceal the slight smile in his eyes. He said, If Du Xiaofu can become half a disciple of our school of Confucianism, then it's reasonable for him to want the inheritance of our school of Confucianism. If Du Xiaofu becomes half a disciple of our school of Confucianism first, then the people from the school of Moism and the school of Yin Yang will definitely be very good-looking. The Demon King Du Xiaofu, the young master of the golden-winged Great Peng clan, the Rock Emperor of the desolate country. He definitely has the qualifications to become half a disciple of our school of Confucianism. However, Yu Tong and Kuei, those 2 girls, are being targeted by quite a number of brats. If they are really taken advantage of by outsiders, I'm afraid those brats will take things too hard. Immediately, quite a few elders and protectors discussed with smiles in their eyes. It was dusk, and Du Xiaofu was arranged to stay in a secluded courtyard by the school of Confucianism. The courtyard was antique, with 3 entrances and 3 exits. Green vines climbed up the white walls. Kong Sansi personally sent him off. Before he left, he looked at Du Xiaofu and said after some hesitation, "My third uncle looks simple and honest, and he doesn't care about anything. However, since young, I've never been able to hide my thoughts from him." Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. He understood what Kong Sansi was, that the current master of Confucianism had already guessed his intentions. It won't be easy for him to obtain anything from the school of Confucianism. That girl Yuchi is quite clever. However, she is still inexperienced. She is able to enter all the places in the clan. Kong Sansi left these words behind and then left. It was almost dusk. Du Xiaofu looked out of the courtyard, his eyes flashing. Du Xiaofu then walked into the courtyard and adjusted his breathing on the bed. He circulated the cultivation method of the golden-winged great rocks and comprehended the profound meaning of his body. Whoosh whoosh. Not long after, Du Xiaofu's body was enveloped in a circle of golden light. The next morning, outside the courtyard where Du Xiaofu was staying, a snow leopard and 3 graceful figures flew through the air. 2 graceful figures moved the heart and soul, and one of them was still young and inexperienced. Puff. Du Xiaofu stopped his breathing and walked out of the room when he sensed someone's aura. What a beautiful woman! When Du Xiaofu arrived outside the courtyard, he couldn't help but exclaim in his heart. At this moment, apart from Kong Yuchi and the little girl on the snow leopard, there were 2 other beautiful women in the courtyard. Their beauty and temperament were definitely rare. "Greetings, Rock Emperor." The 2 women bowed slightly. One of them looked to be about 26 or 27 years old. She wore a long white dress that trailed on the ground, and her fine black hair was draped over her shoulders like brocade. Her willow eyebrows were curved like crescent moons, and the tip of her eyebrows carried a hint of coldness. Her white wrist was covered by a light muslin, and she was elegant and elegant, making people unable to look at her. The other woman looked to be slightly younger. Her skin was fair, and her face was moving. Her cherry lips were rosy, as if she was silently seductive. Her attire also carried a kind of fiery heat. Her chest was high, and her fair skin could be vaguely seen. Her body also emitted an innate woman's fragrance, which was quiet and pleasant. These 2 women had completely different styles, but their temperament and beauty were enough to move any man's heart. "I've seen them before." Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. He had an impression of them in the divine domain. These 2 women had followed Kong Sansi into the divine domain. Under the sharp power of the primordial spirit, the cultivation of the 2 women could not escape Du Xiaofu's prying eyes. One was already at the initial stage of the domain realm, while the other was an 8-star Nirvana Peak Spirit Talisman Master. "Brother Xiaofu, this is Sister Yutong and Sister Kuei." Kong Yuchi introduced the 2 women with a smile. Later, Du Xiaofu learned that the older woman was called Meng Yutong and the younger one was called Sun Kuei. Today, they would accompany him to walk around the Confucian school. The little girl was Kong Yuchi's younger sister, Kong Yuling. She was only 5 years old and had yet to reach the foundation establishment realm, but her physique was extraordinary. Under the nurturing of the Confucian school, it would not be long before she became one of the best among her peers. "It seems that they really are bringing me around." Du Xiaofu thought to himself, accompanied by 4 people and 1 beast. However, Du Xiaofu's expression did not leave any trace. No wonder the Confucian supremacy had agreed so readily yesterday. He was clearly pretending that he did not understand what he had said. Moreover, he had let Meng Yutong and Sun Kuei come with the intention of watching him and Kong Yuchi. This supremacy is truly a wily old fox. Du Xiaofu bitterly smiled to himself. Du Xiaofu was well aware of Kong Sansi's intelligence, and Kong Sansi had said that he had never taken advantage of his third uncle. It was clear that although this supremacy looked kind, he was actually a wily old fox. Along the way, when they met the disciples of the Confucian school, there would be a commotion. Kong Yuchi's words were endless. She was extremely curious about the outside world and constantly asked Du Xiaofu questions. Gradually, Sun Kuei's interest was piqued, and she surrounded Du Xiaofu to ask questions. As for Meng Yutong, She had a natural coldness to her, as if she was not from this world. Occasionally, she would glance at Du Xiaofu. Little Kong Yuling sat on the snow leopard's back. Kong Yuchi had taken out a pile of candy to send her away, and her little mouth had not been idle the entire way. Although they were strolling, how could Kong Yuchi and Sun Kuei be a match for Du Xiaofu? Intentionally or unintentionally, Du Xiaofu managed to get information about the Confucian school out of them. When the disciples of the Confucian school cultivated, they would often be sent to dangerous places to temper their bodies and temper their minds. The Confucian school also had a few secret places. It was said that they had been passed down since ancient times. Some secret places could only be entered by the outstanding people of the school. The Confucian school even had a secret place that only a few of the outstanding people of the school could enter to comprehend. It was rumored that it contained the best martial techniques of the Confucian school. The highest secret place is related to my Confucian school's sorcerer's power, Kong Yuchi said. Her eyes were filled with yearning as she said, "Unfortunately, my father said that I can only enter that place after I become a martial saint." Sorcerer's power? Hearing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up. It was rumored that the Confucian school was related to the legendary great sorcerer of ancient times. They had a glorious past that was unimaginable to the people of the world. The sorcerer's power was once the most powerful existence in the world. Even now, it still had the power to destroy the world. Du Xiaofu came this time with the intention of comprehending the sorcerer's power of the Confucian school. During the battle between the legalism school and the Confucian school's Yan Lihan, the sorcerer's power had shocked Du Xiaofu. "I wonder if you can take me for a stroll around those secret places and broaden my horizons," Du Xiaofu said lightly, but his eyes were secretly peeking at the expressions of the three women. Only the disciples of the Confucian school can enter the secret places. If the Rock Emperor is interested in our martial techniques, you can take a stroll around our Confucian school's training grounds and give some pointers to our disciples, Meng Yutong said. Meng Yutong said. Her voice was just like her face, innately carrying a kind of faint coldness. Training grounds? Du Xiaofu shook his head. As expected, these two women had been deliberately sent by the reverend of the Confucian school. Going to the training grounds was useless. Meng Yutong had turned the tables on him, and this made Du Xiaofu feel very helpless. This woman was not to be trifled with. It's been half a day, and the scenery of the Confucian school is like a dream. I wonder if there are any dangerous or fun places in the Confucian school that I can go to. Du Xiaofu turned his gaze to Kong Yuchi. Sun Kuei asked. I don't think so. Sun Kuei shook her head. I know a place where any disciple of the Confucian school can go without any restrictions. You are an honored guest of the Confucian school, so it doesn't matter if I want to go there. If you can pass, you can even obtain the legendary great benefits. Kong Yuchi seemed to have thought of something. She looked at Du Xiaofu with excitement and said, but that place is very dangerous. No one in the Confucian school has been able to pass through it for a very long time. But according to the records of our Confucian ancestors, in ancient times, many of our ancestors were able to pass through, and the fastest only took half a month. What place? Hearing that he could obtain great benefits, Du Xiaofu immediately became interested, and his eyes almost lit up. Wu Peak Sky Road. Kong Yuchi said. Hearing this, the gazes of Meng Yutong and Sun Kuei darkened. Wu Peak Sky Road has a total of 7 peaks, and it is full of mystery. Each peak is separated by a pass, and there are a total of 7 passes. Legend has it that as long as you pass through the 7 passes, you can obtain the greatest benefits of the Confucian school. Kong Yuchi added, but if you fail, even if you don't die, you will be seriously injured. No one has ever been able to come out unscathed. There's still such a place? I'd like to see it. Du Xiaofu was not a careless person, but hearing that there were ancestors of the Confucian school who passed through it, it meant that the so-called Wu Peak Sky Road was not impossible to pass. Do you really want to go? You have to think carefully. That Wu Peak Sky Road is too dangerous. In the Confucian school's records, there are only records of our ancestors who passed through it. After that, no one has been able to pass through it. Tens of thousands of years ago, many of our ancestors who were extraordinary either died prematurely or were seriously injured while trying to pass through the Wu Peak Sky Road. Because of this, our ancestors decided long ago that we would not allow our disciples to pass through the Wu Peak Sky Road. Kong Yuqi did not expect Du Xiaofu to really want to go. At this moment, she became nervous and reminded Du Xiaofu seriously. It seems that the Wu Peak Sky Road is not simple. Du Xiaofu thought to himself. For the Confucian school to decide to forbid their disciples from passing through the Wu Peak Sky Road, it was enough to prove that the Wu Peak Sky Road was not ordinary. It's okay. I've decided to try. Can you lead the way? Du Xiaofu smiled and asked Kong Yuqi. The ancestors of the Confucian school once tried to pass through the Wu Peak Sky Road, but none of their descendants succeeded. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was not afraid. Instead, his blood was boiling. He wondered how he would compare to those ancient heavens favorites. Sure. Kong Yuqi hesitated for a moment, then looked at Du Xiaofu and nodded. Yuqi, no one is allowed to pass through there. Plus, the Rock Emperor is not a member of the Confucian school. Meng Yutong's expression changed as she tried to stop Kong Yuqi. The home only forbids the disciples of the Confucian school from entering, but it does not forbid others from entering. Kong Yuqi smiled slyly at Meng Yutong. To us, the Wu Peak Sky Road is only a legend. Rumor has it that as long as you pass through the Wu Peak Sky Road, you will receive the greatest benefits from the Confucian school. Sister Yutong, are you not curious? Chapter 1838. This. Meng Yutong hesitated. The path of heaven on Wu Peak was only a legend to the Confucian school of Confucianism. Countless ancestors of the Confucian school of Confucianism died or were severely injured when they attempted the path of heaven. As a result, the path of heaven was closed 10,000 years ago. As for the biggest benefit hidden behind the path of heaven, all the disciples of the Confucian school of Confucianism dreamed of obtaining it. But it was only a dream. Everyone knew that they could not obtain it. But the more it was like this, the more curious they were. Without a doubt, both Meng Yutong and Sun Kuei were curious. What was the biggest benefit of the Confucian school of heaven on Wu Peak? The path of heaven on Wu Peak is extremely dangerous. Once you enter, you cannot leave easily. If you fail, you will be severely injured at best and die at worst. It is too dangerous. Meng Yutong frowned and said, "The Rock Emperor is an honored guest of the Confucian school of Confucianism. If anything happens to him in the Confucian school of Confucianism, it will be a big problem. We cannot bear the responsibility. I know the path of heaven on Wu Peak is dangerous." Kong Yuqi's eyes flickered and she said, "But Brother Xiaofu is the Demon King. He can defeat all of his peers. Don't worry, I know the dangers of the path of heaven on Wu Peak. I will bear the responsibility. I will not put it on you." Du Xiaofu looked at the three girls and said, "Even if the Confucian school of Confucianism blames you, I will bear the responsibility. I will not make things difficult for you." After looking at Du Xiaofu for a while, Meng Yutong looked at Sun Kuei. Her heart wavered, but she could not make the decision alone. "I think what Yuqi said makes sense. Perhaps the great Pring Emperor has a chance," Sun Kuei said thoughtfully. "Okay then." Meng Yutong gritted her teeth and nodded. Then she looked at Du Xiaofu. On her indifferent face, her eyes lit up. She said, "If you want to enter the path of heaven, you must be careful. The Confucian school of Confucianism has some records about the path of heaven. I can tell you first." Soon after, the group went on to Wu Feng's heavenly road. Kong Yuling held the candy and followed behind them on her snow leopard. Along the way, Du Xiaofu learned a lot about Wu Peak Sky Road from Meng Yutong. It was rumored that the heavens path at Wu Peak was left behind by the most ancient experts of the Confucian school. Even the strongest experts of the current Confucian school were unable to pass through it. On the other hand, the path of heaven at Wu Peak was related to one's cultivation level. Entering the path of heaven, one would be met with resistance of the same cultivation level. The higher one's cultivation level, the higher the resistance. Once he entered Wu Peak Sky Road, everything would be out of his control. As for what kind of dangers Wu Feng would encounter on the heavenly path, the records of the Confucians were fragmented and there wasn't much useful information. However, it was rumored that as long as one could pass through the 7 trials and pass through Wu Peak's heavenly path, they would be able to obtain the greatest benefits from the Confucian school. Behind these mountains was a series of mountains that rose and fell like a giant beast in hibernation. This was a rather remote location for the Confucian school. However, in the midst of these mountains, there were 7 incomparably huge mountains that stood tall and straight. They were exceptionally dazzling and majestic. These 7 huge mountains were like peerless giants. Not even a blade of grass grew on them. The rocks were carved with many strange and ferocious patterns, emitting a mottled and ancient aura. The 7 huge mountains were separated by thousands of feet. The 7 mountains were arranged in a straight line. From the first mountain to the last, the distance was tens of thousands of feet. If an ordinary person were to walk along the foot of the mountain in a straight line, it would take them half a day or even longer. The 7 huge mountains stood tall and straight, quietly standing on this ancient land. It was as if they had existed for countless years and were looking at something from afar. Whoosh, whoosh, several figures landed on the mountains. It was Du Xiaofu, Kong Yuqi, Meng Yutong, and the others. What a strange mountain! As the figures landed, Du Xiaofu was immediately attracted by the 7 huge mountains. Looking at the 7 mountains from afar, he felt as if he was facing an ancient giant beast. The 7 ancient mountains were calm at the moment. However, there was an invisible aura that made Du Xiaofu feel as if he was facing the most terrifying beast. It was hibernating and could awaken at any time. This is the heaven's path of Wu Peak. It starts from the foot of the first mountain. Stepping on the mountain is the first stage. Crossing the sky to the second mountain is the second stage. When you step on the 7th mountain, it is the 7th stage. At that time, you will be able to obtain the greatest benefits of the Confucian school. Meng Yutong looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "In the area of the heaven's path of Wu Peak, there are restrictions set by our ancestors. Even the experts of the Confucian school cannot break in. There is only one path that can be taken. That path is also known as the heaven's path of Wu Peak. It is said that even in ancient times, the number of ancestors who could pass through the heaven's path of Wu Peak could be counted on one hand. If you can succeed, it will be the pride and fortune of the Confucian school. If I can succeed, the benefits I will obtain will probably be extraordinary." Du Xiaofu looked at the 7 enormous mountains before him and muttered softly. The invisible ancient aura that permeated the air made Du Xiaofu feel that if he could pass through the heaven's path of Wu Peak, the benefits he would obtain would definitely be extraordinary. There's still a problem. Meng Yutong frowned when she saw Du Xiaofu's eager expression. She said, 10,000 years ago, the ancestors of the Confucian school set up a seal at the entrance in order to prevent future generations from passing through the heaven's path of Wu Peak. It won't be easy to undo it. Even if the seal can be undone, the elders will immediately be alerted. At that time, it will be impossible to pass through the heaven's path of Wu Peak. So, I'll go take a look. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. Du Xiaofu wasn't worried about an ordinary seal. In the end, it was just as Du Xiaofu had expected. The seal at the entrance to the heaven's path of Wu Peak wasn't simple, and it should have been set up by a 9th-star Overlord region expert. The chances of anyone below the Saint Realm forcefully passing through it was practically 0. However, such a seal wasn't a problem for Du Xiaofu. With the origin spirit of the red-bone horse, he could enter it without making a sound and wouldn't affect the seal at all. Boom! Just as Du Xiaofu entered the seal with the help of his origin spirit, the runes and ferocious diagrams on the 7 ancient mountains suddenly lit up. The 7 ancient mountains trembled at the same time, and the dazzling light connected to form a vast fluctuation that shot into the sky. The vast fluctuation swept through the entire ancient land of the Confucian school. It shook the mountains and rivers, and it swept out in all directions like an earthquake. What's that? At this moment, all the disciples of the Confucian school raised their heads in shock. The vast fluctuation of aura was too shocking. Under everyone's gazes, dazzling runes bloomed from the depths of the void. The aura of the shaman god traversed the past and present, and it filled the sky. The dazzling light shook the heavens and the earth as if a new world was opening. In a short period of time, a ferocious diagram unfolded in the sky, and it surrounded a long path of light. It seemed like the path to the upper world, and it was filled with profundity. What exactly is that? All the disciples of the Confucian school were shocked. The terrifying aura filled the air, and it made their hearts tremble. They felt the most intense suppression for no reason. Quickly investigate. Numerous elders, protectors, and experts of the Confucian school flashed out. They gathered in the air and looked in the direction of the shocking commotion. Wu Peak's Heaven's Path. Who's challenging Wu Peak's Heaven's Path? Suddenly, an aged figure appeared in the sky, and his voice reverberated in the air. Wu Peak's Heaven's Path. The elders and protectors were shocked when they heard that, and their eyes gradually filled with astonishment. Chapter 1839. The seven mountains lit up at the same time. Countless ancient talisman patterns and ferocious diagrams seemed to have come to life. The light on the seven mountains connected, forming a long path of light. Countless gods and demons appeared around the path of light, as if the god of sorcerers had descended. It was like a path to heaven. He really went in and opened Wu Peak's path to heaven. On a mountain far away, Meng Yutong's beautiful face was no longer cold. Her voice was trembling. Wu Peak's path to heaven has opened. He is the Demon King. Maybe he can really pass through Wu Peak's path and unlock the secret behind it. Kong Yuqi was excited and looked expectant. He is not from the Confucian school after all. Wu Peak's path to heaven belongs to the Confucian school. If he tries to force his way in, he might encounter greater danger. Sun Kuei looked very nervous. Whoosh, whoosh. In a short time, many figures appeared on the mountain. Waves of vast aura descended, and the light was as dazzling as the stars. They were all the elders and protectors of the Confucian school. The ones at the front were the High Lords Kong Zhuohao and Kong Sansi. What's going on? An elder suddenly asked. He looked forward, his eyes trembling. It's the Demon King Du Xiaofu. He wants to pass through Wu Peak's path to heaven, Kong Yuqi said. The restriction was not activated. How did he get in? An elder was surprised. The restriction outside Wu Peak's path to heaven was not activated at all, but Du Xiaofu had already entered. Passing Wu Peak's path to heaven, if one fails, one will be severely injured even if they don't die. It has been a long time since anyone in the Confucian school was able to pass through it. The Demon King Du Xiaofu has a special identity. If something happens to him in the Confucian school, it will cause a huge commotion. An elder looked serious. Du Xiaofu was the barren country's rock emperor. Not to mention the barren country's many geniuses, Du Xiaofu was also the young master of the Golden Rock clan. Behind him was the mysterious existence of Fu Yibai and the others. If the Demon King Du Xiaofu were to happen to the Confucian school, it would cause a huge commotion. Du Xiaofu. Not to Yuqi, you did it, didn't you? Girl, you really don't know what's important. Kong Zhuohao looked at his beloved daughter and knew at a glance that this was related to Kong Yuqi. At this moment, Kong Zhuohao's expression froze as well. He knew very well how dangerous the path of heaven was. Father, elder, you don't have to worry too much. Big brother Xiaofu is no ordinary person. He will definitely be able to break through, Kong Yuqi said, her eyes filled with expectation and confidence. He creates miracles every single time. Maybe even Wu Feng's path of heaven cannot stop him. Kong Sansi smiled bitterly. Back in God's domain, he had witnessed just how monstrous that fellow was. However, this was the scholar's Sorcerer Peak Sky Path. If that fellow really managed to clear the Sorcerer Peak Sky Path, where would the scholar's reputation go? The path of heaven has been opened. There is no way to stop it now, said an elder, his eyes fixed on the path ahead. Look, that's Big Brother Xiaofu. On the back of the snow leopard, Kong Yuling suddenly shouted excitedly. All eyes were fixed on the path ahead. At this moment, on the first mountain peak, a figure had already reached the peak. His entire body was covered in golden light. Behind him, the golden wings of a rock stretched out, making him look like a deity. He passed the first test so quickly? Seeing that the figure had already reached the peak of the first mountain, the elders on the mountain were shocked. At the top of Wu Feng's sky path of heaven, the peak was covered in light. There was a path of light leading to the front. Around it, countless shadows of gods and demons appeared. The power of the sorcerer god filled the air. The outside world could only feel the terrifying aura from afar. But at this moment, Du Xiaofu was in the middle of it. He could feel how terrifying the aura was. Countless gods and demons were chanting all around. Their voices were like thunder, shaking people's souls. The thick and surging power of the sorcerer god seemed to have come from ancient times. Du Xiaofu stared ahead, carefully activating the golden wings of the great rock. His eyes flashed with golden lightning as he stepped onto the path of light. If he wanted to pass through Wu Feng's path of heaven, this was the only way. As Du Xiaofu stepped onto the path of light, the cries of gods and demons resounded. Countless shadows of swords and sabers pierced through the void and swept over in an instant. Is this the Wu Feng's path of heaven? It's so terrifying. The Wu Feng's path of heaven is stronger than the strong. This is caused by the demon king Du Xiaofu himself. Even an ordinary master realm cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand such power. The Wu Feng's path of heaven can only be passed with the strength of one's physical body. No external objects can be used. On the mountaintop, the Confucian experts, elders, and protectors stared at the Wu Feng's path of heaven without blinking. Their faces were filled with shock. Every shadow of swords and sabers around the path of light was like lightning. They had the power to directly kill a peak Grand Dominion realm cultivator. An ordinary master realm cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand it. It's getting stronger and stronger. It took a long time to describe, but everything happened in an instant. As he watched the shadows of swords and sabers that blotted out the sky and covered the earth approach, golden talisman inscriptions surged in Du Xiaofu's eyes. The golden rock wings on his back flapped continuously, and circles of golden talisman inscriptions swept out. It was like a golden sun in the sky, filling the air with majestic light. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like a rock spreading its wings and soaring through the 9 heavens. He carried the domineering will of the golden-winged rock clan. Clang, 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 clang. The shadows of swords and sabers pierced through the void, but they were all blocked by Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings. When they landed on the golden rock wings, they stirred up lightning in all directions and exploded with runes before shattering. Du Xiaofu rampaged through the path, shattering the dense shadows of swords and sabers around him with an unstoppable momentum. Walala, a terrifying sea of fire appeared and surged in all directions of the heavenly road. It was as if it covered the sky and covered the sun, enveloping this part of the world. The blazing heat was like the descent of heavenly fire, causing one's skin to burn and one's soul to wither. Even the space was distorted by the heat. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings. Purple flames surged and purple talisman inscriptions exploded. It was as if a purple flame demonic phoenix was wrapped around him as he flapped his wings and flew through the sea of fire. Walala! Suddenly, the sea of fire turned into huge waves that filled the sky and swept out in all directions. It was as if it could annihilate everything. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings, and the golden rock wings on his back flapped. He soared into the sky and finally stepped onto the second peak in a shocking manner. Oh my God, it's already the 3rd stage. On the mountaintop, all the scholarly experts had yet to react when the domineering figure had already stepped onto the 2nd shaman peak. Du Xiaofu did not stop at all and continued forward. Rumble! Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in front of him. Countless bolts of lightning exploded and swept down like a storm. Wherever the bolts of lightning passed, pitch-black cracks appeared in the space. They could destroy and annihilate everything. That's the power of lightning. It's too terrifying. It seems to be getting stronger and stronger. Even the scholarly experts who were far away from the heavenly road on the shaman peak felt a chill run down their spines as they gazed at the power of the lightning from afar. The power of the lightning was enough to make even peak experts of the Overlord realm tremble in fear and not dare to face it head-on. I can't activate the purple lightning profound cauldron. At this moment, Du Xiaofu realized that even the purple lightning profound cauldron could not be activated on the heavenly road. However, it was just the power of lightning. Du Xiaofu was not afraid. He smiled and formed a hand seal. The golden light around him was instantly covered by purple lightning talisman inscriptions. He activated his lightning martial vein, and even the golden rock wings on his back were covered in purple lightning arcs. Rumble, bolts of lightning fell one after another. Terrifying arcs of lightning wreaked havoc as space shattered inch by inch. Such terrifying destructive power caused more and more scholarly disciples to feel their hair stand on end as their souls trembled. Chapter 1840. However, at this moment, when the destructive lightning descended and swept down onto Du Xiaofu like a storm, it was devoured and absorbed by the lightning veins that covered Du Xiaofu's body. The might of the lightning that was sufficient to destroy everything was completely unharmed to Du Xiaofu at this moment, and he was like a fish in water as he traversed the heaven path. At this moment, all the experts and elders of the scholarly faction on the mountain in the distance were dumbstruck as if they'd seen a ghost. When looked at from the outside world, the heaven path seemed to be less than a few kilometers in length, but one could only sense that it was an extremely long path that one couldn't see the end of. When the destructive lightning descended, it covered the heavens and the earth, and the sharp sound of lightning tearing through the air resounded. It was sufficient to directly obliterate the soul of a peak overlord realm cultivator, and no matter how strong that peak overlord realm cultivator was, they would probably be exhausted to death. However, Du Xiaofu was like a fish in water at this moment, and his lightning veins covered his body as he swaggered through the heaven path. Boom! Suddenly, dark clouds pressed down at the end of the heaven path while winds rose and clouds surged. An abyss-like rift appeared high up in the sky, and the surging energy of the shaman god traversed space and time from the primordial times to condense into an enormous figure of the shaman god in the sky. As the figure of the shaman god appeared, the figures of the fiend gods in the surroundings chanted in the sky, and the wind and thunder resounded without end. The terrifying might swept out, and it caused the elders and guardians of the Confucian clan to go limp on the mountain in the distance. That's the energy of the primordial shaman god. A scholarly elder trembled while his eyes glowed. The energy of the shaman god effused out from the heaven path, and it caused the blood in the bodies of all the scholarly disciples to start boiling. The pressure came from their bloodline and soul, and it was impossible to resist. Bang! The figure of the shaman god appeared in the sky like an ancient shaman god. He waved his hand, causing space to distort while winds and clouds surged. An enormous palm stretched out from the depths of the sky, and it covered the sky as it smashed down towards Du Xiaofu. A strand of terrifying energy instantly swept over from all directions, and it carried an enormous pressure as it silently spread out. It was like the world in this space was shaking, and it was shocking. Rumble. When such a hand seal descended, a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. It was as if a spatial storm had arisen. There were the sun, moon, stars, and all living beings in the world. All of them were annihilated within it, and everything was destroyed. At this moment, the world around them was distorted, and spatial ripples spread out in all directions like waves of boiling water. The terrifying power of the sorcerer god in the handprint was accompanied by a mysterious force. As it pressed down, space shattered inch by inch, and a pitch-black space vortex was torn apart as it fell from the sky. This is the power of the ancient sorcerer god. On a distant mountain, Kong Sansi's eyes glowed, his expression solemn. "I don't think anyone below the Saint Realm can stop it," an old man said. "Can he still withstand it?" On Meng Yutong's beautiful face, her eyes were fixed on Wu Feng's sky road. At this moment, that terrifying handprint caused all the Confucian cultivators in the distant void to be on tenterhooks for Du Xiaofu. That handprint was too terrifying. It was the power of the ancient sorcerer god. No one below the Saint Realm could stop it. Crack, crack. The path of heaven was in the sky, and the surroundings were dark. The golden light on Du Xiaofu's body soared into the sky, and the terrifying handprint descended. The void around his figure was distorted, and countless tiny cracks appeared, densely covering the void like a spider web. Come on. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly. Lightning surged in the depths of his eyes, and golden light surged out. Suddenly, profound energy surged out from the divine gate in his body like a flood. Golden light erupted, and lightning wreaked havoc as it rushed into the sky. The thunder martial vein and the golden rock could merge. In an instant, it covered the surrounding space and turned into a huge purple-gold thunder rock in the sky. Screech! The purple-gold thunder rock was born. Its huge body covered the sky, and its eyes were like a sea of thunder, shooting out purple-gold lightning arcs. It was like two bright suns in the sky, overlooking the world. Boom! At the same time, on the path of heaven, an unusual vibration appeared in the air. Mysterious runes began to seep out of the void. In the next moment, a shapeless aura resonated with the void around Du Xiaofu. In the end, it turned into a purple-gold divine ring. It was like a purple-gold sun in the sky, dazzling and brilliant. The 8 trigrams diagram, the mysteries of stars, the mysteries of the immortal grass, the mysteries of the violet flame demonic phoenix, the mysteries of the nether cave grass, the mysteries of lightning, and countless other mysteries of the beasts fused together. They turned into various phenomena as a vast heavenly might permeated the surroundings. Boom! A divine ring appeared in the sky, filling the void with divine light, bringing with it a kind of divine radiance. At this moment, from far away in the void, all the Confucian disciples could feel the terrifying saintly might from Du Xiaofu's body. It was like a new world had opened. Almost all the Confucian disciples had never seen such a vision before. Under such pressure, even the legalism elders and guardians felt their legs go weak. They couldn't resist such terrifying pressure at all. This is a new nirvana. It's a path that belongs to him. It's beyond the nirvana of a Grand Supreme, and it's also beyond the nirvana of a perfected Grand Supreme. All of a sudden, a figure descended from the sky. His voice was gentle and it resounded through the sky. It was an old man with long hair. He looked to be in his 50s. His Confucian robe was embroidered with green bamboo patterns. His hair was gray, and it swayed with the wind. He had a long beard, and he looked like an immortal. As this old man descended, the surrounding void changed slightly. Divine Ancestor. When this old man descended, all the Confucian elders and guardians, including Kong Zhuahao, bowed with respect. But at this moment, this immortal old man's deep eyes were fixed on Wu Peak Sky Road. In the dazzling divine ring, the purple-gold lightning figure merged with another divine ring. It was sacred and inviolable. From the purple-gold lightning figure, a surging aura poured down like a waterfall. From afar, it was extremely dazzling. It gave people the feeling that the world had just opened, and all things had just been born. Break! When these words came out, Du Xiaofu didn't stop at all. He used the infinite power of nirvana to resist the terrifying sorcerer god's handprint. Boom! Boom! In the next second, the infinite power of nirvana swept out. It was as if a new world had been opened, causing countless visions to appear in the void. It fiercely collided with the sorcerer god's handprint. Screech! A purple-gold thunder rock flew up from it, facing the terrifying vortex in the sorcerer god's handprint. It flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Boom! Boom! This collision instantly exploded with dazzling runes that covered the sky and earth. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Its power enveloped the world. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the ancient world of the Confucian faction was also surging. The sky changed color, and the earth shook. Bang! 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 In the void of the Sorcerer Peak's path of heaven, space was exploding. It made people's souls tremble uncontrollably. Large spatial cracks were hanging in the sky. The space was chaotic, and almost no one could see clearly. Until the dazzling light gradually disappeared and dimmed, only the light of the Sorcerer Peak's path of heaven was still crossing the void, connecting the 7 Sorcerer Peaks. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared on the 3rd peak. The golden rock wings on his back were broken, and his body was covered with a feather armor. The light was dim, and there were traces of cracks, revealing his flesh. Fresh blood dripped down, and a faint golden color covered his body. That was the supreme blood, condensed and not scattered. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The azure spirit armor on his body disappeared, but in the end, it resisted. This is a great talent. In the void, the sage-like elder spoke. His eyes were filled with divine light. The demon king Du Xiaofu passed the third stage. He passed the third stage. On the peak, the disciples of the Confucian school were in an uproar. The elders and protectors were even more shocked. Under such terrifying power, the demon king Du Xiaofu withstood it directly. How powerful! How long has it been? He has already passed the third stage. Some elders were dumbfounded. This speed of passing was a little too fast. Brother Xiaofu is so powerful. I knew he would be fine. Kong Yuqi cheered excitedly. She had absolute confidence in that tall and straight figure from beginning to end. Kong Zhuohao rolled his eyes at his beloved daughter, then looked back at the Sorcerer Peak's path of heaven. Continue. On the third Sorcerer Peak, Du Xiaofu looked at the path of light in front of him. He squinted his eyes, took a deep breath, and continued to step forward. Dong. As Du Xiaofu stepped forward, the sound of a zither entered the ears of everyone around the path of light. It was pleasing to the ears, like the sound of a fairy. When such a sound spread out, everyone who heard it would fall into a trance. The sound of the zither reverberated on the Sorcerer Peak's path of heaven. The disciples of the Confucian school were in a daze. Some of them laughed foolishly, while others closed their eyes. Even many elders and protectors were in a trance at this moment. The sound of the zither can affect the soul. Don't let it enter your ears. Above the void, the sage-like elder spoke. His faint voice reverberated between heaven and earth. When it landed in the ears of the disciples of the Confucian school, it was as if they were enlightened. How terrifying! One by one, they woke up from their stupor. Their gazes changed drastically, and their hearts were still beating fast. The sound of the zither entered their ears. At this moment, Du Xiaofu crossed the path as if he was taking a stroll. No one knew that at this moment, in Du Xiaofu's mind, the red-bone horse monkey's body was sitting cross-legged on the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. Electric arcs rippled, and the sound of the zither that affected the soul could not cause much of a ripple. Suddenly, the sound of the zither changed, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling swept over. Chapter 1841. The sound seemed to come from the depths of hell, like the howling of evil spirits. The air around them darkened, and a murderous aura surged. The color of the sky changed. When the sound came from the path of heaven, the expressions of the Confucian cultivators in the distance changed. Most of the Confucian disciples had already sealed off their hearing, not daring to let the howling of ghosts enter their ears. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu was still strolling leisurely. White divine light faintly gushed out from the depths of his eyes. Silver-gold lightning arcs flowed between his brows, as if he was traversing the 9 hells. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Du Xiaofu stepped onto the 4th Wu Peak. He passed the 4th test just like that. Before the Confucian cultivators could recover from their shock, Du Xiaofu's figure had already stepped onto the 5th peak. Walala, ancient runes were changing, covering the sky. Dazzling light shot into the clouds, illuminating the surroundings. Countless runes rippled, but no longer emitted any pressure. It was as if they had evolved and bloomed on the path of light, filled with the ancient aura of the sorcerer god. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu was blocked on the light path leading to the 5th mountain peak under everyone's watchful eyes. What's going on? What kind of test is that? It doesn't look like anything. Why is he blocked? This scene shocked the Confucian cultivators and disciples on the peak. They were very confused. That's an ancient illusory array. It will create an illusion. You can only experience it when you're inside. There are records that say that those illusory arrays are extraordinary. The fastest of the ancient supreme cultivators of the Confucian school who passed through the path of heaven took 5 days. In the air, the sage-like elder spoke. He stood quietly in the air and a formless aura emanated from him, blocking most of the pressure that spread from Wu Feng's Sky Road and protecting many of the Confucian disciples who were not of high enough cultivation. He's continuing. But just as the sage-like elder finished speaking, some of the Confucian disciples exclaimed. Du Xiaofu, who had paused for a moment, continued to cross. An illusion, huh? On the path of light, Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly. A confident smile appeared on his pale face, and white light poured out of his eyes. Whoosh, dazzling runes fluctuated in the surroundings. Under the gazes of everyone present, Du Xiaofu stepped onto the fifth mountain with ease. Everyone was stunned to the point that they found it difficult to breathe. On the path to the sixth peak, the runes on the path of heaven and earth flickered, like a falling river of stars, filling the sky. I've walked path of heaven in stones. I've been training. I've been through countless dangers. This path of the strong's the path of the stone city. On the path of light, Du Xiaofu murmured softly. On his resolute face, there was a resolute look in his eyes. Rumble. Du Xiaofu didn't walk quickly. He walked slowly, and with every step he took, a loud clanging sound could be heard in the air. It was like a heavenly drum, and the sound made people's hearts pound. Brother Du Xiaofu, you can do it. On the mountaintop, Kong Yuqi stared at the tall figure on the path of heaven and earth. She clenched her fists tightly. In less than half a day, he's already passed the fifth level. Even in ancient times, this is a miracle for the Confucian school. Can Demon King Du Xiaofu really pass the path of heaven of our Confucian school of Witchcraft Peak? Ever since that catastrophe, none of the disciples of the Confucian school have been able to pass the path of heaven. No one knows what lies behind the path of heaven. If the Demon King Du Xiaofu can make it through, perhaps this time we will be able to find out what the benefits of the heaven's path are? There were elders and experts who were whispering to each other. Quite a few of their aged bodies were trembling, their eyes fluctuating with divine light. They began to reveal a type of expectation. Rumble. With a final clanging sound, Du Xiaofu stepped onto the sixth shaman peak. My God, he passed the sixth level. There's only one level left. The Demon King Du Xiaofu, is he really going to pass the path of heaven? The Confucian elders and protectors on the mountain began to tremble. This Demon King had passed through 6 trials in a short period of time. This speed was something that not even the supreme geniuses of the ancient Confucian school had been able to accomplish. Brother Du Xiaofu, you can definitely succeed. Kong Yuqi was excited, but her fists were clenched tighter and tighter. Meng Yutong stared at the purple-robed figure on the 6th peak. Her eyes glowed, and it was hard to tell whether she was nervous or serious. Kong Zhuohao did not say a word. He was also staring at the figure on the 6th peak. Demon King Du Xiaofu really lives up to his reputation. He passed the 6th stage so quickly, as if he had entered an unstoppable realm. Unbelievable! How powerful! No wonder he can defeat his peers. How shocking! To the younger disciples of the Confucian school, they were all dumbfounded and in disbelief. Just the pressure emanating from Wu Feng's Sky Road alone was enough to make them unable to resist. But now, the purple-robed young man was like a demon. He was breaking through. How many years has it been? The path of heaven has been closed. Countless supreme geniuses of the Confucian school died or were severely injured on the path of heaven. Even the legendary heavens chosen of the Confucian school of Confucianism, who were the cream of the crop, only a handful of them were able to make it through the path of heaven. On the 6th shaman peak, Du Xiaofu stood there. His entire body was suffused with a golden glow, and the golden wings of the great rock spread out behind his back. His purple robe fluttered slightly, and his posture was tall and straight. There was naturally a shapeless aura that set off him, making him seem extraordinary. The Demon King Du Xiaofu is not cruel at all. On the contrary, he is extraordinary. He is even more powerful than Brother Sanxi. I think so too. He is more handsome than Brother Sanxi. I heard that in a fit of anger, he destroyed all the forces of legalism and the school of vertical and horizontal. He is too powerful. I wonder if he is married yet? Many girls from the Confucian school, especially the young ones, had ripples in their eyes. They were all excited. The last level? On the 6th peak, Du Xiaofu gazed at the path of heaven that led to the 7th peak. The path of heaven seemed to be extraordinarily long. It led to the 7th peak, the highest peak. It was like a path to heaven. The last level. What is behind the path of heaven? Du Xiaofu murmured as he gazed at the dazzling heaven's path. Those primordial geniuses of the Confucian school could make it through. If he could not, how would he be able to stop the great calamity? How would he be able to take a step further against the school of legalism? Without stopping, Du Xiaofu continued forward. Boom! Just as Du Xiaofu stepped onto the path of light that led to the 7th peak, the 7 peaks suddenly roared at the same time. The earth shook. Dazzling runes flowed on the path of light. They surged towards Du Xiaofu like a stream of water. A huge force immediately crushed Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu suddenly felt his body turn sluggish. The golden light around his body also trembled. His body felt like it was stuck in a quagmire. It also felt like there was a huge rock pressing down on his shoulders. It was difficult for him to move. This force was not targeted at the primordial spirit, nor was it an attack. It was purely crushing Du Xiaofu's physical body. Under the pressure of the immense force, the space around them began to twist and turn under the pressure of the runes. The space around them began to crack and crack, as if it could crush everything into pieces. However, at this moment, those who were not on the path of heaven would not be able to notice it. Du Xiaofu was trapped in it and could not escape. The golden wings on his back were also restrained. He was like a bird with its wings tied up. Even the body of an ordinary peak stage Grand Dominion realm cultivator would probably be crushed into pieces by the pressure of such tremendous force. You want to stop me? Du Xiaofu looked at the path of light in front of him. His body surged and the Xian Qi in his body swept out. Boom! Du Xiaofu continued forward. His body was covered in golden light. He was like a supreme being. The sound of wind and thunder could be heard. The sound of thunder was deafening, causing the world around him to tremble. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was pushing through everything. He shocked the Confucian school as he climbed to the 7th peak. Chapter 1842. Translator, H2-2 Mr. That path of light seemed to lead to the heavens. With every step Du Xiaofu took, the crushing force grew stronger. Du Xiaofu's speed became slower and slower, and the golden light on his body dimmed. The immense pressure pressed down on his physical body. This light path imprisoned everything. At this moment, Du Xiaofu could only use his Xian Qi. He could not use any external force. Even the golden wings of the dapeng on his back were bound and could not flap. Du Xiaofu once again activated the blue spirit armor. The blue spirit armor relied on Xian Qi to activate. It was only a martial technique and was not bound. Boom! But when Du Xiaofu activated the blue spirit armor, the crushing force on the path of light intensified once again. Dazzling runes formed a vortex of astral wind, burning and intertwining. It was as if a divine fire was burning, entangling Du Xiaofu continuously. At the same time, waves of immense impact swept across Du Xiaofu's body, emitting soul-shaking rumbling sounds. What a powerful aura! What kind of blocking force is that? It seems to be making the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, increasingly difficult to move. The scholars in the surroundings were all very nervous. All of them were on tenterhooks for Du Xiaofu. Even though they were separated by a great distance, that terrifying crushing force had already made it difficult for them to breathe. It was as if their hearts were being pressed down by a large rock. This should be a test of physical strength. 10,000 years ago, there was a genius of our Confucian school who challenged his peers from the 9 great families and never lost. He defeated his peers from the dragons and also suppressed those from the phoenixes. In the end, he made it to Wu Peak's path of heaven and reached the 7th stage in 14 days. In the air, the sagely old man looked forward and said, but it was at the 7th stage that the genius was blocked. In the end, his body was cracked and his blood stained Wu Peak's path of heaven. It was also because of that the ancestors of our Confucian school decided to seal off Wu Peak's path of heaven. We could not let our outstanding disciples take the risk again. These words fell into the ears of the legalism experts, elders, and protectors. Sigh. They sighed as they looked at the feathered armored figure on Wu Feng's heaven's path and became more and more serious and nervous. Ka. Suddenly, a cracking sound came from the light path. Everyone's heart trembled. Under everyone's gaze, the extraordinary feather armor on Du Xiaofu's body began to crack under the dim light. Du Xiaofu's blood even seeped out from the cracks. Rumble. At the same time, on the path of light, resplendent light interweaved and rumbled. The crushing force was still increasing. The azure spirit armor on Du Xiaofu's body was cracking, and his flesh was bleeding. Pitif. In the end, even the corner of Du Xiaofu's mouth was leaking golden blood. Du Xiaofu's pace also became slower and slower, like an old man who was trembling as he walked. Not good, Du Xiaofu is also blocked. Everyone's heart trembled. At this moment, everyone could see that Du Xiaofu was facing a huge obstacle. It was already difficult for him to move forward. If he continued to force his way forward, Du Xiaofu's blood would be spilled on Wu Feng's heaven's path and die on the spot. Just a little bit more, can he still hold on? Some elders trembled. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's figure was only a short distance away from the final seventh Wu Feng. Just a little bit more and he would reach the top. The further he goes, the greater the pressure. Some Confucian experts were worried. It seemed like he was about to reach the top, but the further he went, the greater the crushing force. It was even harder to move forward. Pff. Du Xiaofu spat out blood. The azure spirit armor on his body was already cracking, revealing his flesh and blood. Ka. At this moment, even Du Xiaofu's body was leaving. The immortal Shen body was rippling with electric arcs, but the speed of recovery was not as fast as the cracks. This series of exhaustion had already pushed Du Xiaofu to the limit. It was difficult for him to endure any longer. At this moment, the crushing force was so great that even peak Master Realm experts would not be able to withstand it. That kind of crushing force was too terrifying. Du Xiaofu was still continuing. His face was twisted from the crushing force. He was getting closer and closer to the end. 20 feet, 19 feet, 18 feet, 100 feet, 100 feet. Cough. Du Xiaofu stopped. His body was trembling and his aura was weak. It was difficult for him to even lift his feet. He could not help but cough up blood. Walala. As Du Xiaofu came to a stop, the runes that intertwined with each other around the light path seemed to have turned into huge waves. They carried a crushing force that could destroy everything as they swept towards Du Xiaofu. The pitch-black spatial cracks in the surroundings were faintly discernible as they densely covered the void. Ka. Under such a violent impact, Du Xiaofu's body continued to crack. His azure spirit armor was in tatters, and blood flowed through the heavenly road. He is not a disciple of our school of Confucianism. It is even more difficult for him to pass the heavenly road. If he were a disciple of our school of Confucianism, he would have probably succeeded already. It would be such a pity if such a great talent were to be lost. In the void, the sagely old man spoke. His eyes shone with a divine light. His gaze was filled with regret and pain. The bamboo pattern on his robes glowed. Big brother Xiaofu, you have to hold on. Kong Yuqi said. Her fists were clenched so tightly that her fingernails dug into her palms. Her delicate face was tense, and her heart was in her throat. He is already heavily injured. I'm afraid he can't hold on. No one can pass the heavenly road of Witch Peak. Our school of Confucianism has lost many peerless geniuses. Although this demon king Du Xiaofu is extraordinary, he will still have to stop in the end. Someone said. The demon king Du Xiaofu was extraordinary, but he would still have to stop in the heavenly road of Witch Peak of Confucianism. At this moment, under the intense pressure, Du Xiaofu's body continued to deteriorate and crack. Du Xiaofu raised his head with difficulty and looked at the last 10 feet in front of him. It was much more difficult than the path of light behind him. It's about time. But at this moment, Du Xiaofu was not afraid. On his increasingly pale face, there was a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. It was also in this short period of time that a domineering and terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Du Xiaofu's body like a flash flood. In an instant, on the bound golden wings on Du Xiaofu's back, mysterious golden talismans shot up into the sky. Like a rising sun, light overflowed and filled the sky. At the same time, on the golden wings on Du Xiaofu's back, there were 36 rays of golden light that gradually became more and more dazzling, more and more resplendent. In the end, the light was so bright that it seemed to have turned into a bright sun. Boom, boom. 36 rays of golden light suddenly appeared, giving people an incomparably domineering feeling. Along with the heavens and earth, the pressure swept across the area. Those were 36 tail feathers, exuding supreme being might, leaving everyone shocked. These were the 36 feathers of Du Xiaofu's golden wings. On the heavenly road of Witch Peak, the 36 feathers of true rock had already merged with Du Xiaofu's golden wings. It was as if they were part of the original body. Screech! At this moment, Du Xiaofu used the 36 feathers of true rock. Golden light filled the sky, and pressure filled the sky. Along with the rock, an illusory image appeared. "You can't stop me!" At this moment, Du Xiaofu shouted. Using all of his strength, he unleashed an endless amount of pressure. Carrying the will of the rock, he suppressed the heavens and the earth. Boom! With a flap of his wings, Du Xiaofu flew out from the path of light. His entire body was covered in a dense golden light, like a great rock soaring through the sky. With a flap of his wings, he directly shattered the resplendent waves of runes before him. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like a rock in human form, and he was overbearing and arrogant. Golden light surged into the sky as he traversed the Tao of light through space. Everywhere he passed, space was pierced through, causing countless shattered talismans and secret markings to erupt like fireworks and spread throughout space. In a short period of time, with only 3 flaps of his wings, Du Xiaofu directly shot up into the sky. He crossed the heavenly road of Witch Peak and landed on the peak of the 7th Witch Peak. Vroom! Flapping his wings, Du Xiaofu was like a god at this moment. He unleashed a torrential amount of pressure and golden light filled the sky. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the 7 Witch Peak trembled at the same time. The heavens and the earth roared, and ferocious patterns flowed. On top of the 7 Witch Peak, 7 enormous pillars of light shot up into the sky. In the end, they converged together and soared into the sky. Then, deep in the sky, a gigantic figure appeared. He sat cross-legged. Bright and blurry, he exuded an aura of vicissitudes of life. That figure had his head in the sky and looked down on all living beings. Light filled the entire ancient land of the scholarly faction. A terrifying amount of pressure descended from the sky. Bang, bang, bang. When this wave of pressure descended, all the scholarly disciples couldn't help but kneel on the ground. All the elders and protectors of the scholarly faction were trembling all over. Their souls were shaking. Chapter 1843. In the blink of an eye, that massive figure enveloped Du Xiaofu. Walala, an ancient aura swirled around Du Xiaofu, as if it had traveled through time and space from ancient times to return. Finally, it brought Du Xiaofu into a void and disappeared. Walala, the resplendent runes in the sky turned into a rain of light. The 7 shaman peaks trembled endlessly, letting out resounding booms that caused the world to resonate. Then, as everyone's souls trembled, everything calmed down and then disappeared. The terrifying pressure slowly dissipated in the void. All the experts and disciples of the scholarly faction raised their heads, their gazes still in shock and daze. He succeeded, passing through the heavens path of the shaman peaks of the scholarly faction. From now on, the demon king Du Xiaofu is the shaman sovereign of the scholarly faction. In the void, the sagely old man's robes fluttered in the wind. The power of the shaman coiled around his body. His hair danced in the wind, and there seemed to be great stars circulating in the depths of his eyes, emitting a boundless aura. He was very powerful, seemingly much more powerful than an ordinary saint expert. The Demon King Du Xiaofu really passed through. Unbelievable! In just half a day, the Demon King Du Xiaofu passed through the heavens path of the shaman peaks of the scholarly faction. This is a miracle. Even in ancient times, he could suppress the supreme geniuses of the scholarly faction. He is the Demon King, able to sweep through all four directions, shaking the ancients and dazzling the contemporaries. On the mountain top, the scholarly elder exclaimed in shock, his entire body trembling. He succeeded, Big Brother Xiaofu succeeded. I knew Big Brother Xiaofu would succeed. Kong Yuqi's delicate face was filled with excitement, her eyes shining with a dazzling light. Her tense heart finally relaxed. Beside Kong Yuqi, Meng Yu's eyes rippled as she watched the figure disappear into the distance. The news is temporarily sealed. Violators will be severely punished. The sagely old man left these words, and then his figure disappeared into the void. The sky began to fall and night fell. Everyone dispersed in shock. Where did Demon King Du Xiaofu go? How did he disappear? He's made it through Wu Peak's path of heaven. He's probably going to reap great benefits from the Confucian school. He'll naturally return when the time comes. How many years has it been? No one has been able to pass Wu Peak's heaven's path. But now, the Demon King Du Xiaofu passed it in half a day. He's too strong. He is already the venerable witch of the Confucian school. The disciples of the Confucian school of thought discussed animatedly. The fact that the path of heaven had been broken through shocked the entire Confucian school. In the empty space, there were stars rotating one after another. It was like a resplendent galaxy. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in the galaxy. His hair danced in the wind, and his ragged purple robe fluttered in the wind. The resplendent galaxy spun around him, illuminating his entire body. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that the stars weren't stars. Instead, they were pieces of dazzling runes intertwined together. They filled the empty space, emitting an ancient aura. Sorcerer God scripture. When these four characters appeared, they were especially resplendent and dazzling. These four large characters were ancient, making one's soul tremble with a single glance, making one's heart tremble. Kyushu. It was peaceful. This kind of peace made people feel a sense of oppression. The various clans, the dragons, and the phoenixes didn't appear again. Rumble. In the phoenixes' territory, an ancient place opened. Resplendent lights intertwined. 5-colored divine flames whistled, and phoenix cries resounded in the sky. Go in. Before the heavenly devil battlefield opens, I hope you can be reborn. We've received news that the dragons, Dragon 1 and Dragon 2, have entered the divine dragon tomb. In the void, colorful clouds lingered and divine flames fluctuated. Huang Mengjun said to Feng Han and Huang Ling, Dragon 1, Dragon 2. Feng Han murmured softly. Bright light gushed out from his eyes as he soared into the sky. Then he seemed to have turned into a human-shaped phoenix. Wrapped in bright flames, he directly rushed into the 5-colored divine fire before him. Little guy, let's go in too. Rebirth, life and death are interdependent. I've been entrusted by him to bring you in. As for the demerit, it's up to you. Huang Ling shook her wrist, and a dazzling green soul-devouring divine ant the size of a fingernail appeared in her jade-white palm. Its small eyes emitted a dazzling light. Whoosh! Her beautiful figure soared into the sky. Her long dress fluttered, and the curves of her body were incomparably alluring. Huang Ling also disappeared into the 5-colored divine flames with Feng Han. 2 months passed. In the Confucian school, the 7 sorcerer peaks stood among the mountains. They were majestic and magnificent, faintly emitting an ancient aura, as if symbolizing the vicissitudes of time. Ever since Du Xiaofu passed through the Sorcerer Peak's path of heaven 2 months ago, the 7 Sorcerer Peaks remained silent. But these days, the disciples of the Confucian school would occasionally look in the direction of the Sorcerer Peaks, as if they were waiting for something. Nobody knew when it started, but the 7th Sorcerer Peak was faintly suffused with a kind of light, as if something was glowing. But all of this was very faint and no one could see it. It's already been 3 months. Why hasn't Big Brother Xiaofu come out yet? On the mountaintop, a huge white leopard demon beast appeared. Kong Yuqi stared blankly at the sorcerer peak in front of her. Sister, be careful. Father punished you by not allowing you to go out for half a year. If he finds out, you'll be punished by him. On the back of the white leopard, little Kong Yuling's jet black eyes turned. Looking at her sister Kong Yuqi, a smile appeared on her chubby face. She said, "But don't worry, sister. I'll definitely help you." You want to eat candy again? Kong Yuqi glared at her little sister, but her eyes were full of love. No, I'm also waiting for Big Brother Xiaofu to come out. Big Brother Xiaofu is so powerful. In the future, I'll definitely cultivate until I'm as strong as Big Brother Xiaofu. I'll also pass through the Sorcerer Peak's path of heaven. Kong Yuling's small eyes were filled with determination. Boom! As Kong Yuling's childish words fell, the space in front of her suddenly trembled. Roar! The white leopard let out a low roar and its body trembled. What's going on? Kong Yuqi's expression changed instantly. She was shocked by the sudden tremor. Rumble. But at the same time in the sky, there was a sudden tremor. The surrounding ground was trembling. This time, Kong Yuqi felt it. She immediately followed the tremor and looked towards the source. It was on the 7th Sorcerer Peak. At this moment, the 7th Sorcerer Peak, which had been silent for 3 months, began to glow again. Swoosh, swoosh. In midair, the sound of wind breaking resounded. Some of the elders and experts of the scholarly faction rushed over. Such a commotion immediately alarmed them. Chapter 1844. Figures landed one after another. They were all experts and protectors of the scholarly faction. They had been paying attention to the movements on the shaman peaks. Figures landed on the peaks one after another. The ones in the lead were the scholarly faction's current sovereign, Kong Zhuahao, and the second elder. Pairs of eyes were fixed on the 7th shaman peak. Their eyes trembled. From the 7th shaman peak, there was a vigorous shaman god's power, as if a sleeping demon was awakening. Sizzle. Sizzle. Space rippled, and the figure of an old man with the demeanor of an immortal quietly appeared in the air. His scholarly robes were embroidered with eye-catching green bamboo patterns. His silver hair and gray beard fluttered in the wind. He looked forward with a divine light in his eyes. More and more experts, elders, and protectors of the scholarly faction arrived. They were in an uproar because of the movements on the 7th shaman peak. At this moment, the movements on the 7th shaman peak became more and more intense. The mysterious runes on the 7th shaman peak rippled as if something had come alive. Meng Yutong and Sun Kuei had unknowingly landed beside Kong Yuqi. Looking at the movements on the 7th shaman peak in front of them, the two girls' beautiful faces revealed excitement and surprise. Ripples appeared in their eyes. At this moment, they could clearly feel the endless shaman god's energy that suffused the 7th shaman peak, and it carried an ancient pressure that caused their souls to tremble. Did he make a move? Shock flashed across Meng Yutong's eyes. It had been 3 months, and there was finally news of him. In these 3 months, Meng Yutong was very strange. The purple-robed figure who ascended the shaman peak as if he was ascending the path to heaven had been lingering in the depths of her mind. It was as if he was branded in her mind. Rumble. The 7th shaman peak rumbled. The earth and mountains shook as if there was an earthquake. Light shot into the sky, and the wind and clouds surged. It was as if the world had suddenly fallen into darkness. Only the 7th shaman peak shone brightly like an erupting volcano. The shaman god's power seeped out from the air. What a powerful pressure! Under the enormous ancient shaman god's power, the experts of the scholarly faction present all turned red. Even if they circulated their techniques and used their treasures to resist, they still felt that it was difficult to resist. Rumble. Suddenly, the 6th, 5th, 4th, and all the way up to the 1st shaman peak lit up at the same time. Symbols swept out in a dazzling radiance. As the earth quaked, boundless sorcerer god's power swept out, shaking the ancient world of the Confucian school. What's that? Suddenly, some Confucian experts and disciples cried out in alarm. Under everyone's gazes, the 7 shaman peaks trembled. On the 7th shaman peak, dazzling runes surged. It was as if the sun had descended and illuminated the entire ancient land of the scholarly faction. In an instant, phantoms of gods and demons appeared. Above the firmament, a huge phantom of the sorcerer god appeared. 3 months ago, the sorcerer god's shadow had disappeared after Du Xiaofu's challenge, but now it appeared again. The surrounding gods and demons roared. The sorcerer god's head was above the sky, overlooking all living beings. The sorcerer god's monstrous power circulated around the sorcerer god's phantom, as if it had traversed through time and space to arrive. What a terrifying pressure! It's impossible to resist. An elder from the Confucian school trembled. The massive sorcerer god projection illuminated the entire Confucian school, giving off an ancient aura. Bang, bang, bang. Some experts could not resist that terrifying pressure. Their legs went soft and they directly knelt down, their souls trembling. That's the sorcerer god's statue. In the sky, the sagely elder could not help but tremble. His mind was trembling. He knew the origin of that phantom. It was the sorcerer god's statue, and it came from the Confucian school's legends. Amidst the terrifying pressure, the enormous shadow of the sorcerer god suddenly burst out from the sky like an exploding sun, covering the sky and covering the earth. Finally, under the shocked gazes of the many scholarly disciples below, a man in a ragged purple robe appeared in the sky above the 7th sorcerer peak. This purple-robed man stepped into the sky with his eyes closed. Around him were phantoms of gods and demons. Dazzling runes circulated in the air, making him look like a god. The terrifying sorcerer god's power in the surroundings was actually emanating from his tall and straight figure. It's him, the Grand Sorcerer! Everyone exclaimed. That was the Demon King Du Xiaofu, the Grand Sorcerer of the Confucian school. After 3 months, he finally came out. Is he the one who brought out the greatest benefit of our Confucian school? Some elders trembled with anticipation. The heavenly road of the Shaman Peak had already been passed. What was the greatest benefit of the Confucian school? Did the Demon King Du Xiaofu obtain the greatest benefit? Walala! At this moment, Du Xiaofu stood quietly in the void. The surrounding space flowed around him. His calmness revealed an unparalleled arrogance and domineering aura. The pressure that permeated from his body caused one's legs to soften and kneel. In the Confucian school, countless spiritual birds and ferocious beasts were roaring and trembling as they crawled on the ground. Hiss, hiss. Finally, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. There was a light shooting out from his eyes, like lightning shooting into the sky. The sorcerer god's power surged from his body and swept out in all directions. The sorcerer god's power of our Confucian school. Feeling the sorcerer god's power, in the crowd, Kong Sanxi's eyes were filled with raging waves. Big brother Xiaofu is out. Kong Yuqi clenched her fists. The beautiful eyes on her face were bottomless. The corners of her eyes were slightly raised, and there was an excited smile on her face. When she smiled, it was as charming as the night. Du Xiaofu stepped into the sky. The mighty sorcerer god's power filled the ancient world of the Confucian school. This kind of sorcerer god's power made even the experts and elders of the Confucian school tremble. From the looks of it, he succeeded. After a moment of shock, Kong Sanxi's eyes finally calmed down. He smiled bitterly, and there was a complicated expression in his excitement. He was known as the #1 person of the younger generation of the Confucian school. When he was in the divine domain, he was already shocked by that guy. After coming out of the divine domain, the Demon King had climbed to a new height at a terrifying speed. At this moment, feeling the sorcerer god's power on the Demon King, Kong Sanxi knew that the greatest benefit of the Confucian school after Wu Feng left the heavenly road must have been obtained by him. His strength must have increased by a lot. Looking at the ragged purple-robed figure in the sky, Kong Sanxi couldn't help but doubt himself. Was his talent really that of a cultivation genius? Compared to that abnormal Du Xiaofu, could he really be called a genius? The heart of heaven is the most benevolent. The sorcerer has descended, comprehending the heavenly Tao, comprehending the heavenly principles, possessing infinite power. In the sky, Du Xiaofu suddenly spoke faintly. His eyes rippled with deep divine light, and his voice was filled with the vicissitudes of time. It was like the sound of the Tao. His voice wasn't loud, but it shook the world. It was like the sound of war drums, resounding throughout the entire Confucian school. For some reason, this voice made the hearts of the disciples and experts of the Confucian school tremble. The profound qi in their bodies involuntarily surged. It's the sorcerer god's power. He has the sorcerer god's power of our Confucian school. An elder cried out in alarm. His aged face was trembling, but his aged body was surging with divine light. Has he brought out the greatest benefit of our Confucian school? Looking at the figure in the sky, an old man walked out from the top of the mountain. He looked old and his face was full of wrinkles, and he wore a Confucian robe. Ancestor Mengwen. Seeing this old man walk out, the elders and experts around looked over. This old man had an extremely high status in the Confucian school. He was one of the few remaining ancestors of the Confucian school. He was usually in seclusion and hadn't shown his face for many years. He only came out because of the commotion at Wu Feng's heavenly path. Today, he sensed the commotion and came here. Young friend, have you obtained the benefits of our Wu Feng's heavenly path? This old man will give it a try. Please be careful. Ancestor Mengwen spoke. He couldn't wait to personally test whether the demon king Du Xiaofu had obtained the greatest benefit of the Confucian school. He stomped his foot on the mountain, and his figure rose into the sky. His hair danced in the wind, and his body emitted divine light. The mighty and surging sorcerer god's power surged out like a storm. Runes spread out, and his arms intertwined, making sonorous sounds. Sizzle, sizzle. In an instant, Ancestor Mengwen had already condensed a handprint at the same time as his figure swept out. The mighty sorcerer god's power caused the void to surge and shake the sky. Coo, coo. In a short instant, Ancestor Mengwen condensed a giant tortoise shadow in one hand and a 5-colored phoenix in the other. The tortoise and phoenix manifested and roared, directly bombarding Du Xiaofu. Chapter 1845. Tortoise Phoenix Shaman Seal. Seeing Patriarch Mengwen's attack, many Confucian powerhouses exclaimed in shock and trembled. The Tortoise Phoenix Shaman Seal was the ultimate technique of the Confucian school. Not all disciples of the Confucian school had the qualifications and potential to successfully cultivate it. However, once the Tortoise Phoenix Shaman Seal was activated, it was almost impossible for cultivators of the same realm to resist. Guji. The tortoise and phoenix intertwined, and the power of the shaman god surged. The runes were resplendent, and the fluctuations were like ripples that spread out. Then, it evolved into a stormy wave that swept towards Du Xiaofu. Tisk. Du Xiaofu looked straight at the tortoise phoenix phantom with ripples in his eyes. The light in his eyes was like lightning, resplendent and dazzling. In the next instant, Du Xiaofu attacked. He waved his hand and reached out. The surrounding space immediately turned dark. His palm slapped down, and a handprint swept out from the void and turned into a resplendent light. Boom! As the power of the shaman god surged, the voice of a god and a demon echoed. A god and a demon shadow swept out from the handprint and appeared in the void. Woo! At this moment, the god and demon roared, and the power of the shaman god surged. This was the evolution of the power of the shaman god, and it turned into a god and a demon shadow. This handprint swept down, and the surrounding space shattered inch by inch. It was incomparably violent, and a strange phenomenon appeared. It was a terrifying scene. Boom! Such attacks then collided, and endless light burst out. The power of the shaman god swept through the sky and drowned the sky. Whoosh! The shattered resplendent runes rushed in all directions like fireworks, sweeping high into the sky. The destructive power was extremely shocking. There was a terrifying power in the energy wave that could naturally suppress Patriarch Mengwen's attack and crush the Tortoise Phoenix Phantom. This terrifying pressure also made the disciples of the Confucian school below tremble in fear, and their hearts palpitated for no reason. Drip! Many Confucian powerhouses were the first to see that there was blood on Patriarch Meng Wan's palms during the collision. A wound had appeared on his palms. Thud. Patriarch Meng Wan staggered in the void and was sent flying. His eyes were filled with shock and astonishment. In the void, the eyes of the old man with the demeanor of an immortal surged with a fiery excitement. His scholarly robe fluttered as his voice rang out. The Grand Shaman has come out of seclusion. Why aren't you all saluting? His voice echoed throughout the scholarly faction, falling into the ears of every scholarly disciple. Greetings, Grand Witch. The disciples of the Confucian school knelt down and saluted. The Grand Shaman was an ancient existence of the Confucian school. It was said that only the few supreme geniuses of the Confucian school who had passed through the Grand Shaman Peak in ancient times had the title of Grand Shaman. Supreme Shaman, that was the supreme title of the Confucian school of thought. He did not interfere in the affairs of the Confucian school of thought, but his status was equal to that of the Honorable Lord. Greetings, Grand Witch. All the elders and protectors bowed, their eyes filled with excitement. At that moment, everyone could see that the greatest benefit from the Grand Shaman Peak in the Grand Shaman Peak had been obtained by the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Otherwise, how could he have the power of the Sorcerer God on him? That power could suppress the techniques and attacks of the Confucian school. In the void, Du Xiaofu looked around. His eyes glowed with divine light. The power of the Sorcerer God surged around him as if there was endless power surging in his body. The elegant hall was filled with the smell of books. In the hall, an old man with the demeanor of an immortal, dressed in scholarly robes, spread out a scroll of jade in the palm of his hand. In the void in front of him, the jade scroll shone with a monstrous light. The power of the Sorcerer God permeated the air. Endless runes surged, accompanied by the sound of gods and demons, and the pressure was terrifying. The scripture of the Sorcerer God, it really is the scripture of the Sorcerer God. This is the treasure of the Confucian school of thought that has been lost since the catastrophe of the world. It records the highest level of the Confucian school of thought. I never thought that it would always be behind the Grand Shaman Peak in the Grand Shaman Peak. This is the treasure of the Confucian school of thought. The old man was excited. He put away the jade scroll and held it in the palm of his hand as if he had found a treasure. Then, he looked at Du Xiaofu and asked, "Young friend, have you really comprehended the scripture of the Sorcerer God?" "You can say that I have somewhat comprehended it. But the scripture of the Sorcerer God is vast and profound. I only know the surface." Du Xiaofu said. After passing through the Grand Shaman Peak in the Grand Shaman Peak, the treasure he obtained was the scripture of the Sorcerer God. After comprehending it for 3 months, he was considered to have learned it. As for the scripture of the Sorcerer God, Du Xiaofu was still in shock. The vastness of the scripture of the Sorcerer God was no less than the way of the tyrannical fist, way of the sword, and way of the tyrannical fist. The scripture of the Sorcerer God was not a Confucian school of thought, but it recorded the highest level of the Confucian school of thought. It was all-encompassing. Many of the martial arts had been lost in the Confucian school of thought. I have somewhat comprehended it. Hearing this, the sage-like old man looked at Du Xiaofu, and he couldn't help but be shocked. He knew very well that Du Xiaofu's comprehension of the Sorcerer God's scripture was definitely not just a little bit, based on the fact that he had attacked Meng Wan. What shocked the old man even more was that Du Xiaofu was not a disciple of the Confucian school of thought. He did not practice the Confucian school of thought, nor did he come in contact with the Confucian school of thought. However, in just 3 months, he had directly comprehended the scripture of the Sorcerer God. This was simply shocking. The scripture of the Sorcerer God contained the highest level of martial arts in the Confucian school of thought. Many of the profound martial arts had been lost in the Confucian school of thought. In ancient times, only the most outstanding disciples of the Confucian school of thought could cultivate those profound martial arts, and only the most outstanding disciples had the chance to successfully cultivate them. After the great calamity of the world, no one had been able to successfully pass through the heaven's path. The ancient experts of the Confucian school of thought had either died or perished. The Confucian school of thought had suffered a great blow, and those martial arts had not been left behind. Within the scripture of the sorcerer god, apart from the martial arts of the Confucian school of thought, the most important thing was the comprehension of the sorcerer's power. The sorcerer's power that the disciples of the Confucian school of thought cultivated was far inferior to the sorcerer's power cultivated by the ancestors of the Confucian school of thought in ancient times. Cultivating like this would affect one's cultivation in the future, making it impossible for one to progress further. The old man had long since sensed that the reason his cultivation had been slow was related to the sorcerer's power in his body, which was affecting his cultivation. It was rumored that the secret to increasing the sorcerer's power was hidden within the scripture of the sorcerer god. However, the scripture of the sorcerer god had always been missing, and it had been suspected that it had been lost during the great calamity of the ancient times. There were also experts of the Confucian school of thought that perhaps the sorcerer's power contained the scripture of the sorcerer. However, generations of supreme geniuses of the Confucian school of thought had tried to pass through the heaven's path, and they had lost many disciples, but they had never succeeded. Now, the scripture of the sorcerer god had appeared before him. How could the old man not be shocked? Senior Meng, why would such a treasure of the Confucian school of thought be placed under the heaven's path? Du Xiaofu asked. There were many martial arts of the Confucian school of thought in the scripture of the sorcerer, and there were records of the sorcerer's power. It was because of those records and cultivation methods of the sorcerer's power that Du Xiaofu was able to comprehend the sorcerer's power. As for the identity of the old man before him, Du Xiaofu already knew that he was a saint of the Confucian school of thought. He learned from Kong Yuqi that this saint of the Confucian school of thought was known as the martial scholar saint in the outside world. His name was Meng Jiyuan, and he had once shaken the world. He was one of the few terrifying experts left in the world. Feeling the invisible aura of the martial scholar saint in front of him, Du Xiaofu found that the aura of the martial scholar saint seemed to be higher than the aura of the saint of the school of legalism and the school of Zongheng. The scripture of the sorcerer contains many lost martial arts of the Confucian school of thought, as well as the comprehension of the sorcerer's power. Only the most talented disciples are qualified to cultivate it, and only the most talented disciples have the chance to succeed. Meng Jiyuan opened his mouth and said, I guess that's why the ancestors of the Confucian school of thought placed the scripture of the sorcerer after the path of heaven at Wu Peak. It was to let the disciples who passed the test get the qualification. Later on, the great tribulation of the world affected all living beings, and the Confucian school of thought was no exception. Many experts and ancestors fell. Since then, no one has been able to pass through the path of heaven at Wu Peak. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. It was a blessing to be able to obtain the scripture of the sorcerer this time. Although there was no obvious improvement in his cultivation after comprehending the sorcerer's power, his strength was incomparable to before. Especially the vastness of the sorcerer's power. Du Xiaofu felt that if he continued to comprehend the scripture of the sorcerer, he would definitely not be inferior to the way of the tyrant and the way of the fist if he continued to comprehend it. The scripture of the sorcerer is returned intact. It will be handed over to the Confucian school of thought in the future. I will not leak anything about the scripture of the sorcerer. Du Xiaofu said to Meng Jiyuan. The scripture of the sorcerer only existed in the sealed space under the path of heaven at Wu Peak. Everything in the scripture of the sorcerer was copied from Du Xiaofu's mind and engraved on the jade slip. It could be said that it was returned intact. Having obtained a treasure like the scripture of the sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought, Du Xiaofu was very conscious and naturally would not leak it. This old man will not be shy about the scripture of the sorcerer. It is indeed very important to the Confucian school of thought. The great calamity of the world is coming again. The scripture of the sorcerer is not something that everyone can cultivate and comprehend. But for many of the elders of the Confucian school of thought, if they can comprehend the scripture of the sorcerer, they will definitely obtain great benefits and even be able to advance further. When the time comes, they will also have more power to protect themselves. Meng Jiyuan looked at Du Xiaofu and said, Little friend, there is no need to worry about other things. You have passed through the path of heaven at Wu Peak. Although you are not a disciple of the Confucian school of thought, you have comprehended the power of the sorcerer and also comprehended the scripture of the sorcerer. This is also the will of the heavens for you to be the honorable sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought. Senior, this is not very good. The Confucian school of thought is one of the 9 great families. After all, I am still young. Du Xiaofu felt rather helpless. He knew the identity of the honorable sorcerer. Although he did not have any real power in the Confucian school of thought, his status was high and could be on par with the Lord. The honorable sorcerer was the title of the supreme genius of the Confucian school of thought who had passed through the path of heaven at Wu Peak in ancient times. You are the lord of the barren country and the young clan leader of the golden-winged rocks. With your cultivation and strength, and now that you have comprehended the power of the sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought, you are absolutely qualified. Meng Zhuyuan looked at Du Xiaofu and frowned. Then, he suddenly turned his eyes and stared at Du Xiaofu. You are not thinking of leaving, are you? Let me tell you, kid. You have comprehended the power of the sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought and comprehended the scripture of the sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought. You have to be the honorable sorcerer whether you want to or not. It is decided. Du Xiaofu had a somewhat complicated look in his eyes. His face was somewhat distorted. Is this really a dignified sage of the Confucian school of thought? Why does he feel somewhat special? Senior, I have a lot of trouble. If I become the honorable sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought, I am afraid that I will implicate the Confucian school of thought. Du Xiaofu smiled helplessly. Isn't it just legalism, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the dragons? You have the golden-winged rocks behind you, as well as the school of Moism, the school of yin-yang, and the school of agriculture. You have a good relationship with the Confucian school of thought. What is there to be afraid of? Meng Jian raised his eyes and looked at Du Xiaofu, saying, I will keep the news of you becoming the honorable sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought a secret for the time being. When you need it, the Confucian school of thought will definitely lend you a hand. You will not lose out by becoming the honorable sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought. Very well then, Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly. It seemed that he could not refuse even if he wanted to. However, becoming the honorable sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought seemed to be beneficial to him at present. Very well, it is decided then. Meng Zhuyuan revealed a smile, but it had an aura of its own. It was majestic without being angry and aloof. Finally, he said to Du Xiaofu, you are already the honorable sorcerer of the Confucian school of thought. In the future, you can freely enter and leave all the places of the Confucian school of thought. I will not accompany you anymore. After leaving such a sentence, Meng Zhuyuan's figure floated away. Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly and then left the hall. A moment later, Du Xiaofu met the Honorable Lord Kong Zhuohao. Chapter 1846. Translator. H2 to Mr. Nothing major has happened in the past 3 months. Kyushu, the 3 continents, the Yao realm, and the Beast region have all been peaceful. However, the Confucian school has received news that the devil religion has become restless, as if they are plotting something. The heavenly devil battlefield is also about to open. Du Xiaofu had obtained this information from Kong Zhuohao, the current exalted lord of the Confucian school. Du Xiaofu had also asked about the desolate country. The Confucian school hadn't received any negative news about the desolate country. This allowed Du Xiaofu to relax. However, Du Xiaofu wasn't too worried. The current desolate country was probably not a place that anyone could provoke aside from the 9 great families, the dragons, the phoenixes, and the devil religion. What kind of place is the heavenly devil battlefield? Recently, he'd been hearing about the heavenly devil battlefield. Back then, Eastern Immortal, Nenru, and the other mysterious experts had left a message on the Chenhuang mainland. If the 9 cauldrons didn't gather, the 9 great families wouldn't appear, and all Sage Realm cultivators were forbidden from fighting when the heavenly devil battlefield opened. 3 months ago, Huang Mingjun had also mentioned the heavenly devil battlefield. Du Xiaofu had always been puzzled by this. Just what kind of place was the heavenly devil battlefield? It's an ancient battlefield. Rumor has it that it was the main battlefield during the great calamity of the world. It's extremely vast. Rumor has it that it's even larger than the 3 continents, Kyushu, the Beast region, the 4 seas, Wutong Mountain, and the Yao realm combined, said Kong Zhuohao. What? Du Xiaofu was dumbfounded. It was even larger than the 3 continents, Kyushu, the Beast region, the 4 seas, Wutong Mountain, and the Yao realm combined. Just how vast was that? It was practically an entire world. Du Xiaofu couldn't believe it. Looking at the dumbfounded Du Xiaofu, Kong Zhuohao faintly smiled and said, "That's what the rumors say. I don't know if it's true, but the information left behind by my Confucian ancestors should not be wrong." After pausing for a moment, Kong Zhuohao's eyes flickered slightly. He continued to speak to Du Xiaofu, because the heavenly devil battlefield was created by the dragon god and the supreme expert who sealed the evil spirits. That supreme expert used the 9 divine thunder cauldrons to suppress the evil spirits, but it is rumored that even more evil spirits were sealed in the heavenly devil battlefield by that supreme expert. It is said that there were also many powerful beings from ancient times sealed in the heavenly devil battlefield at the same time. They were sealed together with the evil spirits in exchange for the current peace of the world, quelling the great calamity of the world and preventing the world from completely turning into a demon domain. Sealed inside together, hearing this, Du Xiaofu's expression changed. It wasn't hard to imagine just how intense that great battle had been. Hearing Kong Zhuohao's words, Du Xiaofu seemed to be able to imagine a corner of that great calamity. It must have been extremely tragic. Otherwise, how could those powerful beings from ancient times have been sealed together with the evil spirits? They had sacrificed themselves in exchange for the world not being completely turned into a demon domain. It was so moving that Du Xiaofu's heart trembled. Those ancient experts and evil spirits, I'm afraid they've already perished. After a while, Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. For some reason, he felt somewhat depressed. How could those evil spirits be so easily exterminated? Kong Zhuohao smiled bitterly and shook his head. Those evil spirits are extremely strange. They can be found everywhere and there's no end to them. No matter how much time has passed, those evil spirits won't disappear. Legend has it that back then, it was because those evil spirits couldn't be exterminated that the battlefield fell into a stalemate. If the battle had dragged on, the evil spirits might have gained the upper hand. Therefore, that supreme expert and the dragon god discussed with those ancient experts and creatures to seal the battlefield and leave it to the later generations. When the seal on the heavenly devil battlefield disappears, they hope that someone will appear in the later generations to turn the situation around. Otherwise, when the heavenly devil battlefield opens again, the great calamity of the world will descend again. The heavenly devil battlefield. Du Xiaofu's scalp turned numb. Even the master of the 3,000 great worlds and the dragon god hadn't gained the upper hand back then and had no choice but to seal the battlefield completely. This showed how powerful those evil spirits were. Naturally, they wouldn't be easily sealed and disappear. Once the heavenly devil battlefield opened, it would also be a demonic gate. If no one could stop those evil spirits, the world would probably be completely reduced to a demonic domain. Don't be too pessimistic. The opening of the heavenly devil battlefield is the arrival of a great calamity of the world, but it's also an opportunity. In ancient times, countless ancient experts suffered during the great calamity of the world, leaving behind countless ancient treasures and inheritances, as well as endless opportunities. When the time comes to enter and obtain the inheritances, it's not necessarily impossible to stop the evil spirits, Kong Zhuohao said to Du Xiaofu with a smile. Du Xiaofu was a little dazed. If the great calamity of the world were to return and no one could stop it, the world would probably be in chaos. Blood would flow like rivers, corpses would be strewn everywhere, and the world would become a demonic domain. Du Xiaofu didn't have the great ambition to save the world. With his current strength, he probably couldn't stop anything at all. One had to know that even the master of the 3,000 great worlds and the dragon god couldn't do anything. This showed how terrifying and powerful those evil spirits were. Du Xiaofu thought about his family and the disciples of the desolate country. If the great calamity of the world were to come and no one could stop it, What would they do? However, if he had the strength, Du Xiaofu wouldn't mind stopping the great calamity of the world. After all, the master of the 3,000 great worlds had placed the divine thunder cauldron on him. He had obtained the benefits of the divine thunder cauldron, but also the responsibility. However, Du Xiaofu didn't want that day to really come. If the great calamity of the world were to return, it would definitely be the end of the world. It would mean blood and slaughter, and the world would fall into darkness. I hope that the heavenly devil battlefield will open later, so that the world can make some preparations. Du Xiaofu murmured. Hearing Kong Zhuao's words, he didn't care about the endless opportunities and ancient treasures in the heavenly devil battlefield. Instead, he hoped that the heavenly devil battlefield would open later, so that he would have more time to make some preparations. When the time came, he would have more power to protect himself against the return of the most terrifying nightmare. What do you think of those two girls, Yu Tong and Ku Wei? Kong Zhuao suddenly asked such a question, looking at Du Xiaofu with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. They're pretty good. Their talents are pretty good. Du Xiaofu looked at Kong Zhuao doubtfully. That smile made Du Xiaofu feel that it was up to no good. Young man, if you like them, how about I make the decision? I feel that those two girls seem to be interested in you as well. Kong Zhuao smiled gently. Honorable master, I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first. Du Xiaofu finally understood. It turned out that this guy was really harboring evil intentions. He immediately slipped away. This kid, looking at Du Xiaofu's back view, Kong Zhuao smiled gently. Back then he still had some plans. But now that he was the honorable witch of the Confucian school, it was beyond his expectations. In the following time, Du Xiaofu plunged into the secret grounds of the Confucian school to comprehend the martial arts of the Confucian school and research the heritage of the Confucian school. With the title of Honorable Witch, Du Xiaofu could enter and exit any place of the Confucian school as he wished. After all, Du Xiaofu had already passed through the Heaven's Path at Wu Peak. There was no place in the Confucian school that they couldn't let Du Xiaofu in. The Confucian school has 3 branches: Guanda, human, and private. The name of Guanda is Confucian, and the name of Confucian comes from need. Need comes from the clouds in the sky. Confucian school also knows astronomy and understands drought and drought. The Confucian school is an official of Situ. It helps the ruler to obey the yin and yang and enlightens the people. Literature travels through the 6 scriptures, paying attention to benevolence and righteousness. Ancestors Su Yao, Shun, Zhang Xian, Wen, Grandmaster Zhong and I. His words are important, and the Tao is the highest. Within the ancient attic, Du Xiaofu sat upright, holding an ancient bamboo scroll in his hands. Perhaps if I make some slight changes, their power will increase quite a bit. The power of the sorcerer god will also increase. Within the secret realm, Du Xiaofu formed a seal with his hands. The power of the sorcerer god surged, and the mysterious runes on the talismans began to change. The sound of wind and thunder resounded, shaking the void. For the next half a month, Du Xiaofu remained in the various secret realms of the Confucian school. And when Du Xiaofu emerged from the secret realms, his eyes glowed and his pupils deepened. A formless might rippled from his body. I've made some slight changes to these martial arts techniques. It seems that their power has increased quite a bit. Within the ancient Confucian school hall, Du Xiaofu handed over many jade slips to Kong Zhuao and the elders present. Modifying martial arts techniques, Kong Zhuao and the elders took the jade slips in confusion, but they still curiously opened them. Light filled the air as mysterious runes interweaved. These jade slips were all copied by Du Xiaofu. While comprehending many of the Confucian school's martial arts techniques, Du Xiaofu had also comprehended many of the Confucian school's extraordinary martial arts techniques. But after cultivating these martial arts techniques, Du Xiaofu felt that he could improve further. Just like when he modified the Stormy Waves palm of the Du family, with the tyrannical fists and the Sorcerer God Sutra as the foundation, Du Xiaofu finally succeeded in modifying many of the martial arts techniques, increasing their power by a lot. Even his control of the Sorcerer God's power, which was unique to the Confucian school, had improved a lot. Looking at the jade slip in confusion, Kong Zhuohao and the group of elders were all surprised. With their eyesight, they naturally noticed the difference in these martial arts techniques. Then in the hall, no one paid attention to Du Xiaofu. They were all immersed in the jade slips. Some of the elders couldn't wait to start cultivating. Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly and simply left the hall. Big brother Xiaofu, are you leaving? Kong Yuqi looked at Du Xiaofu with reluctance in her eyes. I should go. Du Xiaofu nodded. He had already stayed in the Confucian school for a long time. It was time to leave. His harvest in the Confucian school was not in vain. Big brother Xiaofu, take me out to play. I want to go out and play. Little Kong Yuling raised her head and looked at Du Xiaofu. She looked forward to the outside world. Du Xiaofu picked up Kong Yuling and said with a smile, you are still too young. You should cultivate first. Chapter 1847. I want to challenge Wu Feng's Sky Road in the future too. Kong Yuling's tender voice was filled with determination as she clenched her small fists. She's been looking for the blood essence of demonic beasts that she needs to build her foundation. My father has prepared several good blood essences, but he's not satisfied with them. Father once went to an ancient ruin to search for the skeleton of a true phoenix to refine its blood essence, but in the end, he did not succeed and did not find the legendary skeleton of a true phoenix. Kong Yuqi said. Her father was extremely fond of her younger sister, Kong Yuling. The family had prepared several kinds of foundation establishment monster beast blood essences. In the outside world, all of them were treasures that were enough to cause a stir. Compared to the blood essences of true dragons and true phoenixes, the amount of blood essences of true phoenixes was almost too much. However, the Confucian school had always been searching for the best monster beast blood essence. The best blood essence to successfully condense a meridian soul would be of great benefit to one's cultivation in the future. Demonic beast blood essence. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows, looked at the little Kong Yuling in his arms, hesitated for a moment, then smiled and said, why don't you use my blood essence? Unbelievable! Unbelievable! To think that the power of the sorcerer god of our scholarly faction could be enhanced to such an extent. It's at least 40% stronger than before. Heaven's Wind's great palm has at least increased in rank. How did he do it? This is simply a miracle. The power of this bright jade fist has increased by quite a bit. It's too shocking. In the scholarly faction, the elders and protectors were trembling with excitement. The martial skills Du Xiaofu had taken out had been improved, and their power had risen to a whole new level. Even the power of the sorcerer god could be improved. This made the elders of the scholarly faction seethe with excitement. Sage ancestor, you didn't misjudge him. This is the blessing of our Confucian school. First, there was the shock of passing through Wu Peak's heaven's path, and now, there was this shocking benefit for the school of Confucianism. At this moment, the elders of the school of Confucianism no longer had any objections to Du Xiaofu becoming the exalted shaman. Be careful of the devil religion. Recently, they've been restless. I don't know what they're plotting. Also, if you need anything, just let me know. Although the 9 great clans can't come out now, they can still help. In the Confucian Great Hall, Kong Zhuohao looked at Du Xiaofu and said, thank you, my lord. Du Xiaofu nodded. You are the grand shaman of the Confucian school, and you are also a member of the Confucian school. Kong Zhuohao patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder and said, also, thank you for helping that little girl Yuling build her foundation. At this moment, Kong Zhuohao's heart was filled with gratitude. His daughter was the apple of his eye, and he had been searching for the best demonic beast blood essence for her to build her foundation. He had found a few blood essences, and they were all precious treasures in the outside world. They were enough to cause the world to fight over them. However, how could they compare to the blood essence of the Golden-Winged Rock Clan, or the blood essence of a Nirvana Realm Grand Paragon? Kong Zhuohao had already personally checked. The blood essence that Du Xiaofu gave Kong Yuling was enough to crush all the blood essence he had prepared. It was probably similar to the blood essence of the legendary True Peng. For a human to have the blood of a real Peng, Kong Zhuohao couldn't help but be shocked. No wonder this man in front of him could become the young master of the golden-winged rock clan. But for Kong Zhuohao, the most he felt was gratitude. This kind of blood essence was definitely not something that could be exchanged for. It was a favor. It's just a small matter. My lord is too polite. Du Xiaofu smiled. It was the first time he had given Kong Yuling his blood essence to build her foundation. It wasn't that he was returning the favor to the Confucian school, but that he was quite fond of Kong Yuling. This made Du Xiaofu think of Du Ba of the Du clan. That little guy used Jialo Jueyu's blood essence to build his foundation. He also had the thunder martial vein and was refined by the divine thunder. As for Kong Yuling, she had used his essence blood to reach foundation establishment, and she also had the foundation of the Confucian school. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but feel some anticipation. These two little fellows weren't too far apart in age, and he wondered who would be stronger in the future. After some small talk, Du Xiaofu left the Confucian school. Big brother Xiaofu, I will definitely work hard to cultivate. Kong Yuling waved her hand outside the wormhole in the Confucian school. She was a little reluctant, and ripples appeared in her eyes. Meng Yutong and Sun Kuei were also sending him off. They looked at the purple-robed figure from afar. Their faces were moving, but they were speechless. Du Xiaofu left the Confucian school. He didn't hurry, but walked slowly. Using the disguise divine technique, Du Xiaofu blended into the city, walked through the rivers and mountains, gazed at the Milky Way, and sensed the world and the present. After stepping into the cycle of nirvana, Du Xiaofu's cultivation stopped for a short time. The immeasurable nirvana was a path that no one had walked before. No one could guide him. What is the meaning of immortality? Du Xiaofu's entire body was enveloped by starlight, and it illuminated this uninhabited mountain in a dazzling and dreamlike manner. His shapeless aura caused the hearts and souls of the beasts, insects, and ants in an area of 30 kilometers to tremble. The world was quiet, and the mountains were vast. Walking up the stairs, the mountains were beautiful and elegant. It was refreshing and natural. The cries of spiritual birds echoed through the mountains like the sounds of nature. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared at this place. He stood at the top of a mountain and stared at the void. His voice reverberated, Du Xiaofu of the desolate country is here to pay a visit to the Taoists. His voice echoed in the void, and then it calmed down. Boom! Moments later, the void trembled. Light seeped out from the void, and a wormhole appeared. Whoosh, whoosh, figures appeared from the wormhole one after another. The light was dazzling, and the invisible aura filled the sky. They were undoubtedly powerhouses. It's really... In the crowd, a young but handsome man in a yellow robe with a gentle temperament stepped forward and smiled at Du Xiaofu. He was Su Yangzi, the undisputed leader of the school of Taoism's younger generation. He had met Du Xiaofu in the divine domain and had interacted with Du Xiaofu. They had even eaten barbecued meat together. At this moment, Guan Lianin and Su Lingzi were behind Su Yangzi. However, they looked at Du Xiaofu helplessly and bitterly. Back when they were at the school of legalism, the treasures they had brought with them had all been scammed by Du Xiaofu. Now that they were in the hands of the desolate country's fiends, there was no way they could get them back. There were also many elders of the school of Taoism who came. Their auras were very powerful, and their status in the school of Taoism was clearly very high. Rock Emperor, please? An elder said. He was not arrogant at all. Du Xiaofu had already shocked them in the battle on the Chenhuang mainland. He was a young man, but his strength had already surpassed them, the elders. Elder, you're too polite. Du Xiaofu bowed. He was neither servile nor overbearing. He was also free and dignified, which moved the elders of the school of Taoism. Chapter 1848. Within Taoism, the treasured land was naturally formed, not below that of Confucianism. The mountains were beautiful, and the pavilions were quiet. Within Taoism, Du Xiaofu saw Taoism's current leader, Peng Qiang. He was an old man who looked to be in his 60s. His robes were loose, his hair was combed, and his eyes were vast. Other than the current leader, Du Xiaofu also saw Taoism's ancestor. His name was Tian Bei Qin, and he looked to be in his 70s. He had a head of white hair, wore a plain robe, and had wrinkles on his forehead. The invisible aura on his body was definitely not below that of legalism's Qin Tian. Young hero, the new generation surpasses the old. Tian Beiqin spoke with a deep voice and a smile on his face. He had been sizing up Du Xiaofu and was secretly shocked. He was actually unable to sense Du Xiaofu's cultivation aura. "Senior, you flatter me." Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and bowed. After exchanging greetings, Taoism's current leader, Peng Qiang's expression changed slightly. He looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. "I wonder if little friend has come to my Taoism for something important?" "Truth be told, I would like to take a look at Taoism's martial arts." Du Xiaofu did not hide anything. He had come to Taoism to comprehend Taoism's martial arts. Of course, Du Xiaofu had also prepared himself. He was afraid that Taoism would not easily agree to his request. As expected, the moment Du Xiaofu's words left his mouth, all the Taoists, Tian Beiqin, and Peng Qiang's faces changed. They secretly looked at each other. Taking in everyone's expressions, Du Xiaofu spoke. "I know that this request is a bit presumptuous, but I can use the divine thunder cauldron to help Taoism's disciples strengthen their martial veins. Elders and protectors, if you can use the divine thunder cauldron to strengthen your martial veins, although the effect won't be as good as a youngster's, it might still increase your cultivation." Divine thunder body tempering. Hearing this, the experts in the hall were in an uproar. They all knew that Du Xiaofu had the divine thunder cauldron, and they naturally knew the effects of the divine thunder cauldron. Unfortunately, the 9 great clans had been forbidden from participating in the opening of the sealed ancient land above Kyushu, so it had nothing to do with them. And now, he had such an opportunity to refine his body with divine lightning. These Taoist elders and protectors had been cultivating for a long time, but their cultivation had almost all stagnated at a certain bottleneck. If they were unlucky, they would not be able to advance any further in their lifetime. They knew Du Xiaofu's words best. The divine thunder refined their bodies and improved their martial veins. This was an opportunity. There was indeed a chance for them to improve their cultivation. Although the chance was not great, for cultivators, especially for these Taoist elders and protectors, who had been stuck at a bottleneck, they would try their best to fight for any glimmer of hope. Moreover, although the chance was not great, it was definitely not small. In addition, if they could refine their bodies with divine lightning, it was definitely a great opportunity. When Du Xiaofu proposed such a condition, the current High Lord Peng Qiang and ancestor Tian Beiqin's eyes rippled as they secretly glowed. "I wonder what kind of Taoist martial arts would you like to exchange for the divine thunder body tempering?" Tian Beiqin asked Du Xiaofu. "I'll exchange it for some Taoist secret grounds," Du Xiaofu said. Looking at these Taoist elders and protectors, he was obviously tempted. This, Tian Beiqin was a little hesitant. Du Xiaofu's goal was to enter the Taoist secret grounds. This was more important than a martial art. However, there were no Taoist martial arts or foundations in those secret grounds. Even if an outsider entered, they would not gain much. "Then how many spots can you get for the divine thunder body tempering?" Peng Qiang asked. The temptation of the divine thunder body tempering was not small. Moreover, Du Xiaofu's request was not completely unacceptable to the Taoist. 100 spots, Du Xiaofu said. Peng Qiang's eyes moved slightly as he looked at Tian Beiqin. Although he was the Taoist sect's lord, with Tian Beiqin present, everything would naturally be led by him. 100 spots for a month in the secret ground, Tian Beiqin said to Du Xiaofu. He did not want to let Du Xiaofu stay in the secret ground forever. A month. Compared to 100 spots for the divine thunder body tempering, it seems a little insufficient. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly as he looked at Tian Beiqin and said, "I wonder what senior thinks of 100 days? This way, I won't lose out too much." All right. It's a deal. Tomorrow, someone will bring you to the Taoist secret grounds. However, I wonder when the divine thunder body tempering will begin? Tian Beiqin hesitated for a moment before he made the decision with a smile. With his status and identity in the Taoist sect, such a decision was naturally acceptable. "Anytime," Du Xiaofu said. "Tomorrow morning, then," Tian Beiqin said. After some small talk, Du Xiaofu was led by Su Yangzi and a few other young people to a quiet courtyard in the Taoist sect. In the main hall, after Du Xiaofu left, Tian Beiqin, Peng Qiang, and many other experts and elders of the Taoist sect did not leave. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, came here to enter the Taoist secret grounds. I don't know if he wants to understand the martial arts of the Taoist sect or if he has encountered a bottleneck. However, this person's talent is abnormal. Once he enters the secret grounds of the Taoist sect, I'm afraid no one in the Taoist sect will be his match. An elder spoke with a sharp gaze. He was worried that Du Xiaofu's talent was too abnormal. If he entered the secret grounds of the Taoist sect, once he completely comprehended the martial arts of the Taoist sect, the disciples of the Taoist sect would be no match for Du Xiaofu in the future. Even the experts of the Taoist sect would be suppressed. That Du Xiaofu's talent is abnormal. However, I'm afraid he won't be able to comprehend it in 100 days. Moreover, he came to our Taoist sect personally. Even if he did not mention the divine thunder body tempering, it would be inappropriate for us to reject him. An old man with a thin figure and deep eyes squinted. He was dressed like an elder, but his eyes were narrowed. Hearing this, the experts of the Taoist sect, elders and protectors in the hall were secretly moved. They all understood that with Du Xiaofu's current status, his terrifying talent and cultivation speed, and his possession of the divine thunder cauldron that could command the 9 great families, it would not be wise for the Taoist sect to directly reject Du Xiaofu. It could be seen from the current situation of the school of legalism and the school of vertical and horizontal. The thin elder paused for a moment, and then a sly smile appeared on his wrinkled face. He said, "However, our Taoist sect has a lot of secret grounds. Du Xiaofu is still too inexperienced." He only emphasized that it would take 100 days, but he did not say which secret ground he would enter. Now, we can not only do that little guy a favor, but also get 100 places for the divine thunder body tempering. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Hearing this elder's words, the experts and elders of the Taoist sect all smiled tacitly. Chapter 1849. Let's do it this way. Tomorrow, let that little guy enter the stellar secret ground. There aren't many Taoist martial arts in there, only some insights of our Taoist ancestors. It's what our Taoist disciples must study when they're young. It's also the foundation of our Taoist sect. This way, we won't let that little guy down. A smile appeared on Tian Beiqin's face. He had a good impression of Du Xiaofu as he had met him in the Qinhuang mainland. However, Taoist martial arts could not be taught to outsiders. Stellar's secret ground, Hearing old ancestor Tian Beiqin's words, the experts and Taoist elders present secretly smiled. The stellar secret ground was one of the Taoists' secret grounds. However, there were no Taoist martial arts in there, only the insights left behind by the Taoist ancestors. The insights left behind by the ancestors in the stellar secret ground were not even martial arts insights, but they were the foundation of the Taoist sect. The Taoist ancestors had said that all Taoist disciples had to enter the stellar secret ground for half a year to comprehend before they could cultivate martial arts. As for the reason behind this, the Taoist experts and elders could not explain it. In the main hall, the elders and experts discussed the quota to enter the divine thunder cauldron tomorrow morning before leaving. Many elders and experts who had reached a bottleneck in their cultivation had obtained the quota to enter the divine thunder cauldron. They were smiling like flowers, but they were also nervous and hoped that they would have the opportunity to improve further. The night was cool and colorful. The courtyard and pavilion were filled with moonlight. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged and looked at the bright moon. At this moment, he suddenly understood why his drunkard father would often quietly look at the moon in the sky when he was in the Du family. He was missing his distant family. His mother and sister were still practicing legalism. Although his current cultivation was not weak, he was still far from being able to truly defeat legalism. Du Xiaofu was also deep in thought at this moment. Still not enough, Du Xiaofu murmured as he looked at the night sky. But at least compared to before, he was no longer an ant in the face of that colossus of legalism. He was getting closer and closer to his goal of defeating legalism. Du Xiaofu went to the Confucian school and now came to the school of Taoism. He hoped to gain some enlightenment and be one step closer to the next breakthrough. When the time came, his family would also be one step closer. There was also the rumor that the great tribulation of heaven and earth was about to descend. This world might turn into a demonic domain with billions of corpses. This added a heavy burden to Du Xiaofu's heart. He had obtained the benefits of the divine thunder cauldron, as well as the opportunity given by the Lord of the 3,000 great thousand cosmos, so it was also his responsibility to prevent the great tribulation of heaven and earth. However, Du Xiaofu was also Qin Chu, and with his current cultivation and strength, he was far from enough. However, Du Xiaofu wasn't too worried. After all, there were still the 9 great clans in this world, as well as the Eastern Deity, Southern Ru, Western Yao, and other experts who could stop the 9 great clans from coming into being. Master, I will definitely find you as soon as possible. Du Xiaofu's eyes glowed with a golden light as he felt the 3,000 Thunder Soul seeds in his mind. There had been no news of his master, the weapon venerable Xiahou Fenglei, but from the aura fluctuations of the 3,000 Thunder Soul seeds, he could sense that his master's life was not in danger. It was a pity that he had lost the opportunity to capture moksha in exchange for his master. I hope I can gain something in the Taoist school during these 100 days. I wonder which secret area of the Taoist school I will enter tomorrow. After a while, Du Xiaofu softly said to himself. He had to increase his cultivation and strength as soon as possible to save his master from the devil religion. However, Du Xiaofu didn't know which secret area of the Taoist school he would enter. He guessed that the Taoist school would definitely not let him enter the core secret area. Therefore, Du Xiaofu didn't even ask for much from the Taoist school. This time, Du Xiaofu didn't enter the Taoist school for the profound martial arts of the Taoist school. If it was for the profound martial arts, Du Xiaofu could completely comprehend the hegemonic fists Dao, hegemonic Qi Dao, hegemonic sword Dao, 8 trigrams profound meaning, thunder profound meaning, and so on. None of them would be inferior to the profound martial arts of the Taoist school. What Du Xiaofu really wanted to do after entering the Taoist school this time was to gain some insights from the Taoist school, not martial arts. Du Xiaofu guessed that the Taoist school wouldn't let him enter any profound secret area. He was afraid that the Taoist school would just bring him to a secret area tomorrow. However, this was what Du Xiaofu wanted. Du Xiaofu had never come into contact with the foundation of the Taoist school. He knew that even if he entered the profound secret area of the Taoist school, he wouldn't be able to comprehend anything. Entering the ordinary secret area of the Taoist school would be more beneficial for him. Hula. After a while, Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and sat down cross-legged. His body was surrounded by ripples of light. Above the void, there were stars flickering brightly. It was as if the galaxy above the firmament was being pulled down by something. Starlight rippled down from the 9 heavens and enveloped Du Xiaofu. The starlight fluctuated and the colors flickered. It was dreamy and illusory. This was Du Xiaofu comprehending the profound meaning of the stars. It came from the Yin-Yang school and was left behind by Qi Yishi. All these years, Du Xiaofu had never given up on the profound meaning of the stars. The next day, early in the morning, Du Xiaofu once again saw the supremacy Peng Qiang and Patriarch Tian Bei-Qin. There were also many elders and protectors from yesterday. In addition, there were dozens of familiar faces of the younger generation of the Taoist school, including Su Lingzi, Su Yangzi, Guan Lianin, and others. These are the 100 people who will enter the divine thunder cauldron. Peng Qiang said to Du Xiaofu. Behind him, the 100 people who would enter the divine thunder cauldron were selected. Half of them were the elders of the Taoist school, and the other half were the most talented young disciples of the Taoist school. Du Xiaofu glanced over and was secretly surprised. The Taoist school knew that the younger the person who entered the divine thunder cauldron, the greater the effect. However, half of the people who were going to accept the divine thunder cauldron were the elders. Only the young ones were the majority. However, Du Xiaofu was not surprised. The Taoist school's choice was probably related to the calamity of heaven and earth. The Taoist school needed to become stronger as soon as possible. When the calamity of heaven and earth came again, the current choice would be the most beneficial for the Taoist school. Boom! Without saying anything, Du Xiaofu summoned the divine thunder cauldron. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Purple thunderclouds rolled. Under the destructive and terrifying pressure, the purple thunder cauldron occupied the void, making people tremble with fear. Some of the stronger disciples of the Taoist school had already collapsed to the ground. Is this the divine thunder cauldron? The treasure left behind by the supreme expert who sealed the evil demon. The elder of the Taoist school trembled and his eyes shone. Then, 100 people entered the purple thunder cauldron. Du Xiaofu kept the purple thunder cauldron. There was a lot of world in the god's watchtower, so he did not use the ancient desolate space. The mountains were hazy and ancient. This was an ancient land that was beautiful and tranquil. It gathered the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and gathered the essence of heaven and earth. It made one's soul feel comfortable standing here. That's the demon king, Du Xiaofu. He's the rock emperor of the desolate country and the young master of the golden-winged rock clan. Rumor has it that he's extremely ferocious. It turns out that he's quite handsome. Qin Wudi, Long Si, and Long San were all killed by him. Rumor has it that even an old ancestor of legalism fell in his hands. Within the Taoist school, there were disciples everywhere looking at Du Xiaofu. It was very chaotic. Those who had never seen the demon king, Du Xiaofu, came to take a look at his true appearance. Many young girls were even moved, and ripples appeared in their eyes. In this world, the strong were always the most attractive existence. Little friend, the lunar secret ground of the Taoist school is in front. It's an extremely important secret ground of the Taoist school. Enter. After 100 days, I'll wait for you here. I hope you can gain some enlightenment and improve further. Old ancestor Tianbei Qin looked at Du Xiaofu and said with a smile on his old face, "Senior, you're too polite." Du Xiaofu smiled and shook his long sleeves. Then, an invisible golden light fluctuated under his feet. His figure glided through the air and rushed into the space entrance in front of him. The mysterious runes of talismans flickered. Then, his figure disappeared. Demon King, Du Xiaofu entered the lunar secret ground. Is he trying to comprehend something? There doesn't seem to be anything to comprehend in the lunar secret ground. Back then, I was tortured in there for several months. If it wasn't for the rule in the school that all disciples must enter for half a year before they start cultivating, I wouldn't even want to go in. It said that the demon king, Du Xiaofu, was only able to enter the lunar secret ground by using the divine thunder cauldron and the Taoist school as a condition to enter. Shu, lower your voice. Don't mention this casually. What's wrong? Why can't I mention it casually? I heard that the elders couldn't agree with the demon king, Du Xiaofu, entering other secret grounds to comprehend our Taoist martial arts. That's why they brought him into the lunar secret ground. There's no Taoist martial arts in there. If the desolate country's fiend knew about this, who knows what kind of trouble it would cause. Around the secret ground, the Taoist disciples discussed spiritedly before leaving. Ancestor, why do I feel a little uneasy? It said that this demon king, Du Xiaofu, is very cunning at such a young age. He never loses out. This time, he entered the lunar secret ground and didn't even try to bargain. It seems a little. Outside the secret ground, watching Du Xiaofu enter the lunar secret ground, Peng Qiang still felt a little uneasy in his heart. He felt that something was wrong. Tianbei Qin was silent for a while. He also vaguely felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Anyway, there's nothing in the lunar secret ground. Not to mention, the lunar secret ground is indeed an extremely important secret ground for our Taoist school. We're not cheating him, Tianbei Qin said after a while. I'm not afraid that the kid will obtain anything in the lunar secret ground. Peng Qiang looked at Tianbei Qin and smiled bitterly. I'm just afraid that the kid won't obtain anything and will feel that he's been cheated. He'll cause trouble for us later. I heard that the kid will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. He's not afraid of anything. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.